Steel Toes and Scoreboards podcast. Like us on Facebook and Twitter. Hey, Kurt, you want a hot take?
Yeah.
PRO should be in the Hall of Fame.
He was a great two-strike hitter.
Bill Laimbeer would have made Shaq piss himself.
You really think so? It's Shaq, dude.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Fun fact, Kurt.
I love deep stats. Good research, bro.
Word association.
Greatest of all time.
Tell me how you really feel about pro sports.
These contracts are out of control.
Some people might not like that.
Well, I'm going to piss some people off.
Well, I mean, you sure will. You're the baseball guru, though, man.
Shout out to my coach, Joe Rodmaker.
Well, it is a digital world these days.
Yeah, and I'm an analog man.
Tiger Woods.
Mount Rushmore, bro.
Coach Bobby Knight.
IU misses him, no doubt.
Times have changed.
But for the better of the worse.
No, that's arguable. I'll tell you right now, though, it's modern age. I'm not drug testing for pot anymore in any sport.
It's a damn plant. They fire and suspend these guys for weed? Ridiculous.
I'm a fountain of useless pro wrestling knowledge. Sure bet. Sound like Adam Sweet. Sure bet. He was a role model for millions.
Rest in peace, Mamba.
Team Ali.
Team Tyson.
You know what? Fuck it. You're baseball's new commissioner.
Oh, I don't want that job.
Oh, horse shit.
Come on, bro.
Magic versus Bird.
What a rivalry.
Okay. Boost ratings.
Asses in the seats.
You know what? Hot take. Tap the mic. He's the best I've ever seen.
Nobody compares to him. Look at his legacy.
All right, guys. Another episode of Steel Toes and Scoreboards coming to you now.
All right, guys. Jared Atkins alongside Kurt Kelly. Welcome to another episode of Steel Toes and Scoreboards, and I can't help but laugh every time we had a lot of fun making that.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun making the intro.
The first one sucked.
Yeah,
because it was all over the place.
Yeah.
You had a line about a two-strike hitter right after we had a line about Shaq or something. Just what I wanted to do was isolate a whole bunch of audio from every episode and put it together, but I'm lazy.
Man, we got it in 2 takes.
Yeah, so 2 weeks later we record the one. I just laugh because it really sounds like you're saying deep sluts. And it looks like on the paper, I love deep sluts, and it's deep stats.
The hesitation was, I was making sure I'm going to be reading what I'm seeing there.
Oh my God,
that's pretty funny.
How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm good. Let's timestamp real fast because this is going to be an awesome episode. Saturday, August 28th. We are about 9:15 p.m. on a Saturday night. A hot muggy.
Yeah, nasty.
I about died this week at work.
It was miserable.
Us fat boys aren't made for this.
Gold Bond.
I got it under the table. I tell you every time, I got the Gold Bond.
I mean, if you ain't in front of a fan in there, it's bad.
And even when you are in front of the fan.
Yeah, it's bad. At least there's air moving, even if it is a hot air. I mean, it helps a little bit. But
So Tuesday, I was helping a couple guys who was working on out plastic, and they had 2 fans going back there, and I farted.
Oh no!
Because that shit's funny to me. So I farted, and then those fans going, it just kind of kept circulating.
No.
So it was like a death fart.
Oh no! Longer.
The little fella looked at me and said, "If you shit like that again," he said, "I'll fucking stab you."
Damn, it must have been bad.
He said, "I'll stab you." Anyways. So, before we get into this and we run through our opening sponsors, and I have no format.
Yeah, he does
for
not
tonight's
have a format.
episode.
He won't need one.
I have done 100% of nothing. I've had 2 weeks to prepare because I don't feel like I need to prepare because tonight we're talking, and if we're being honest, this was the whole reason I got into podcasting to begin with, and I have yet to do it. We're going to do a wrestling episode based on pro wrestling, and I've thought about this for 2 weeks, how I was going to put this episode together, what to talk about, and I come to your house tonight and basically told you we're just going to push record and we'll see where it fucking goes. So, it might be all over the place.
I mean, I got a few questions I conjured up here. I mean,
he was looking online at some stuff. He goes, I'm going to rattle some questions off throughout the episode, which is good because you're going to take charge a little bit.
My knowledge is not as vast as yours on this subject, but
I mean,
I know a little bit about it. The early years.
It's impressive. It's annoying. My dad all the time. He's like, and I come in wearing a wrestling T-shirt.
Yeah, he's decked out for the.
It's the World Wrestling Federation TV Tour Crew. These were shirts that some of the TV guys and the ring crew would wear on some of their tapings and live events. And
pretty cool.
1991 says on the back. I would have been 4 years old. 91.
4 years old.
Which is, roughly. People find this hard to believe, but I remember what I remember. It was about 90, 91. I was about 3 or 4 years old when I first had my first real memory of wrestling. So,
what would that be? Excuse me.
I can remember, and go figure, I can remember the Undertaker.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like, I told you he retired in November after 30 years of working. He was in the business altogether, I think 35 years maybe.
That's impressive.
But
really.
30 of that was spent with one character, and which kind of just speaks to the volume of how, like I said, my childhood died when he retired. But
intimidating look, and
6'10".
Yes.
They build him sometimes as being close to 7 feet. Well, they never build him as being 7 foot. They always said 6'10", and they always said the almost 7 footer, 330 pounds of his career.
And what a name and character for! I mean, that was a great fit for him too.
Oh man, he had so many different versions of that character, which I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I have no idea how we're gonna do this. I have no format. I have no notes. All I have open on the laptop right now is the notes I started putting for the sponsors, which is why I stopped handwriting. So to get started,
let's plug somebody
real fast, and we'll save Glary for last because we still have to talk about them. So shout out Deer 30 Mineral. It's that time of year, guys. They're gonna start shedding velvet soon if they haven't already.
I'd say some of them have already.
Some of them already have, I'm sure. That's serious nutrition for your herd. They've got a number of products just guaranteed to impress your trophy case, and when you look through the scope and at your trail cams. I always shout out the Clock Stopper. And me and Kurt's joke, don't know a man in this world don't like a big rack.
That's right.
Deer 30 Mineral, check them out on Facebook or online. Give them a call at 1-270-339-7731 or send them a message. Local company, or local to us, kind of Madisonville, Kentucky, which ain't far outside of Henderson. So,
bro, I actually checked one of their links out, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I see a lot of people tagging them on social media and the stuff they got going on. And it's impressive. They know. When they first started asking, when I first started, like, hey, can we plug you guys? Because at first, when we first started, I was just looking to start plugging people. Just something, just to get the rub going.
Right.
And then I read about them, and I got a couple of my friends that I go coyote hunting with. And they run their own kind of thing called Perfect Stand. And they're a big representative and a sponsor of them guys. And so they were like, yeah, man, do you an outdoorsman? I'm like, well, I was. I'm like, I kind of got fat and lazy, which, by the way, not so fat and lazy anymore. I'm always going to be fat. But I told you tonight I'm wearing shorts I ain't worn in about 6 years.
Shout out, way to go, dude.
Yeah, so I would like to get back out in the woods. They keep telling me they're going to send me samples, which they haven't yet. If they do, they do. I'll use them or give them to somebody that can. But anyways, Deer 30 Mineral. And before we get back into the wrestling here, last week's episode, I didn't get a lot of feedback on.
Okay.
Which is not to say it was a bad episode, it's either people are tired of hearing tits. By the way, that's me and Kurt's new hashtag when I post about the show. It's hashtag tits. 2 idiots talking sports. Tits. That's one of the new hashtags. We should have called it the Tits Podcast.
Right.
The name is deceiving as shit. We would have got 1 million downloads by now if we'd been called the Tits Podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I didn't get a lot of feedback. I did get a couple hits back on Twitter. Somebody's like, I love when you guys do World Series episodes, which we've only done 2.
Right.
So...
Well, that's a good feedback.
You know, when it comes to sports, my love was always baseball and wrestling. They were pretty hand in hand. Baseball maybe taking a higher, even though I remember wrestling first.
Right.
But there'll be plenty more World Series episodes to come.
Yeah, we have.
But anyway, so we are viewership. Viewership. You're not really viewing right now. It's all audio, but downloads and streams are coming. Right. Some weeks we have a slow day where we'll go like 3 or 4 days without a download, and then the other day we had an outlier day where we had like 6 downloads in one day. So it's going. Right, it's hit or miss. Right. I'm working my ass off on social media trying to build this brand, and I really think when we get Doyle, say hi to everybody. Hello. Even though you're not participating tonight, I really think once we get Doyle with a mic and get him an episode that he's younger than me.
Yeah,
I really think he'll help push this out there. So, but all right, man, you doing good?
Oh yeah, can't complain. Wasn't doing good to complain. So,
nah. Well, as per tradition, sitting in your thriving metropolis out here in Alfordsville, Indiana.
Yeah,
gonna fire me up a Lucky Strike. As much as we plug R.J. Reynolds tobacco products, or I do.
Yeah,
I'm sure a Philip Morris guy. They should all send me a check.
They ought to, for sure. Absolutely.
But I'm going to fire one up. And I'm here to tell you, I don't even know where to start.
I'm going to start.
You got some stuff for me?
Yeah, I got something for you. I mean, let's kind of get it.
Before I do, one other thing I want to say before we do. And everybody, for a few listeners we got, this is not a joke. This is not an ego. This is a true statement. My dad, tonight... my dad's been staying with me for a while, which is kind of weird. But, I mean, I lived with him and my mom growing up, so, whatever. But he goes, I told Kurt, he was laughing. He goes, well, I ain't seen you do no work on that goddamn laptop all week. How you ain't even got any notes. Where's your research at for this wrestling episode? I'm like, come on. You're talking to me. Like, I am the wrestling research, okay? Let's call a spade. I don't need notes. I am... And he goes, goddamn wrestling nerd. Which the irony is funny because it's my dad's fault.
He probably got you started.
He got me started, and then I told Kurt his famous words. He goes, never thought it'd take over that boy's damn life the way it does. It's all he wants to talk about is wrestling. So, I mean, which, by the way, the wrestling podcast I was referencing,
right?
Which I'm going to plug at the end of this episode. We now have a Facebook page up for that, and we're going to start recording on that. So I'm going to be running 2 podcasts.
There you go. Right on.
So Steel Toes and Scoreboards is always going to take precedent, though, because it was me and Kurt going in half on all the equipment and the laptop and everything, and this is where I have a lot of fun. So this one's always going to take precedence over the wrestling podcast.
You need to do a wrestling podcast. I think you do.
You just tell like foam at the mouth like a rabid dog.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I figure if anything I can, and I make mistakes, but anything I can't answer, we got a pause button. Right. We got the Google machine. So
I'll start with.
Let's start.
I mean, the Wrestling Federation, the earliest superstars that paved the way to what we now know.
Are you talking about
WWE?
Yeah. So you're talking about the early days in the WWF.
Name some of the superstars and how they paved the way for pro wrestling. I mean, there's different sanctions all over the country, right?
Well, there's different organizations,
right.
but
the big one is
what is now and has been for years has been based in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is just outside of New York. That's why when talent would always go sign with Vince, they would say they were going to New York because Greenwich, Connecticut's not that far outside of New York City. So Vince's company was always kind of the go-to place. Don't get me wrong, before Jim Crockett Promotions became WCW and kind of left the NWA umbrella, it was either you worked for the NWA in one of their territories. And that's the thing about what people don't understand. The WCW was a promotion that was founded kind of by Ted Turner. I don't remember the details of it. I don't remember if he bought from the Mid-Atlantic promotion from Jim Crockett Promotions. But the haybed, the hotbed that I was telling you about, like the Carolina based and Virginia and all that stuff, that was all Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. That was the Crockett's era territory. But a lot of the NWA was this all encompassing sanctioning body for territories. That, like, you had Bob Geigel running St. Louis, Eddie Graham was running Championship Wrestling from Florida. You had all these territories.
Memphis affiliation.
Memphis was kind of its own thing. That's why I've often said Memphis is the last wrestling territory alive, because they were still around when The Rock was coming in. The Rock came through Memphis as Flex Cavana before he was polished enough to go up and become Rocky Maivia, and then later became The Rock. So Memphis was kind of its own standalone thing, which is the wrestling. I grew up watching all kind of wrestling, but Memphis was the local stuff, because Memphis would run the Mid-South Coliseum on Monday night. Tuesday night they'd run the Louisville Gardens. Wednesday night right down the road to Evansville Coliseum. Lance Russell, Dave Brown.
There you go.
Old Banana Nose, Jerry Lawler called him.
That's the earliest memory I have of wrestling, is that right there.
Thursday nights, I don't know if they'd have an off night, or sometimes they'd run an outlaw town like Jonesboro, Arkansas, or Toloma or something. Friday nights were kind of the same thing. Saturday mornings they did TV at Channel 5 Studios in Memphis. Saturday night they'd do a shot at the fairgrounds in Nashville. Sunday they were off, getting ready to start the loop back over.
They'd air everything here Sunday. Sundays after. Be right after church.
But to get back to what you're saying, to the big stars of that time, you had Andre the Giant, you had Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Those were kind of two of Vince Sr.'s big attractions, and then later became Vince McMahon, now Vince Jr., and then of course Hogan. But the early stars, I can think of a lot of them. You had Polish Power, Ivan Putski. You had the magnificent Don Morocco. Don Morocco and Jimmy Snuka used to have bloodbaths. Oh God, yeah. Cage matches in Madison Square Garden. Sergeant Slaughter in his early days. The Iron Sheik, Sheiky baby.
I remember him.
You guys that don't know wrestling that are listening to this, you want some humor, you need to get on YouTube in your Google machines and just type up like Iron Sheik shoot Hulk Hogan. In the wrestling business, shoot is where somebody gives an interview and it's not scripted, it's real. Like, these are, and a lot of times they get heated and vocal because the boys in the wrestling business, half of them don't like each other. The boys will fuck the boys. That's why you don't ever bring your women into the locker room, because if you leave your girl around a bunch of the boys, somebody's always going to try to, for lack of a better term, toss the meat to her. So you keep your girlfriends out of the lock. Anyways, but Iron Sheik, it's hilarious. Sheiky baby, Hulk Hogan, fucker you, Sheiky baby, fucker you. It's just, dude, it's hilarious. There's like a whole internet wrestling community for shoot interviews, because that's where you the term I was using to you earlier tonight when I was showing you my bag of wrestling nerdism, breaking kayfabe. Shoot interviews, you break kayfabe, which is where you reveal the secrets or you talk about stuff you shouldn't talk about. Shoot interviews are awesome, and just I'm laughing now because I'm thinking about just the Iron Hulk, Sheiky baby, Hulk Hogan, fucker you. But there was other guys too, and now I'm trying to draw. I'm drawing blanks on them, but you had Snuka, Andre the Giant, Morocco, Pat Patterson, who was the first, to my knowledge, one of the first openly gay professional wrestlers. He came out. Pat Patterson was the first Intercontinental Champion. He passed away this past year. The Briscoes weren't really up there.
A few of the names I'm recognizing.
Yeah, Big John Studd.
Yeah.
Big John Studd. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who passed away just a few weeks ago. Great guy. Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
I mean, these are kind of like set. Some of these are late 80s, I'm thinking of too.
Well, that's when I can remember. But he had the honky tonk.
The honky tonk man.
The $1 Million Man.
Did you know? You didn't know this, but I'll tell you this. Wayne Ferris is the name. It's the honky tonk man. He and Jerry Lawler are actually cousins.
Really?
True story.
I mean,
their mothers.
Their
mothers are sisters.
Okay.
So they are actually first cousins.
First cousin. That's pretty cool. The honky tonk man.
He came in the ring. I'm got the long sideburns and my hair slicked back. He used to come out in a pink Cadillac. I'm just a honky tonk man.
Well, my favorite was that Brutus.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm drawing a blank on Brutus's actual real name, but in the day, Hulk Hogan was another name that came through Memphis. When Hogan came into Memphis, they had a guy playing the role of his brother, and the guy playing his brother was Brutus the Barber Beefcake because they look similar, and I cannot remember Beefcake's real name right now. But anyways.
Painting a picture there. What's kind of paved the way for some of the superstars. I've heard a few of them. I can think of a couple others. Like I said, my earliest memories.
Yeah. Tom, tell me about that. What do you remember?
Lance Russell and Dave Brown. That's my first memory.
Young Dave Brown, by the way.
Dutch Mantel.
I've got 2 pictures of Dirty Dutch. I took one with him.
Billy the Superstar Dundee.
Superstar Bill Dundee.
Of course, it was Lawler.
Jerry Lawler. Jackie Fargo was who Jerry Lawler beat to become. That's when Jerry started calling himself the King of Memphis, because at that time, Jackie Fargo was the be-all, end-all in Memphis wrestling. And when a young, cocky, arrogant little prick named Jerry Lawler beat him, the next week Jerry came out, got a hold of a crown, a cape, and a scepter, and he became the king, and it stuck.
Yeah, for sure. That's the earliest memories I have of him. Probably some of them.
What I first remember about wrestling, and people want to challenge me on this, you can go ahead and challenge me. I'll make you look stupid. Wrestling's one thing I don't back down an argument on. I can't remember exactly. I was 3 or 4, and people always argue that. Well, most people, when you first start to remember shit, you're about 3 or 4 years old.
Yep.
And wrestling was couldn't have been 3 or 4. I was laying at the house I grew up in as a kid, and the Undertaker came out on TV, and I just remember my dad. He wore this. He had this. My dad, which you always see me, always have a hat on, right?
Right.
So I got that from my dad, and my dad's hat collection is like hundreds of hats deep. He had this horrible yellow hat on. And I don't remember what it says. I can see it now. It was yellow and it had like lime green, right? It looked just freaking ridiculous. But he comes sauntering through the kitchen. In our house that we lived in, we moved up there in 91.
Sauntering.
Yeah, we moved up there in 91. So it would have been 91 then. So I'd have been 4 years old. We moved up there in September 1991. So I would have been 4. So the sauntering. The house was built in the 50s. And it had carpet in the kitchen. Only house I've ever seen in my life that's got carpet in the kitchen. And he come strutting through there, walking real slow, and he was bringing me a sippy cup. I'll never forget. He goes, "The Undertaker." Oh, yes. Like Paul Bearer. That's my first memory of wrestling. Because I seen him. Taker had the cut off sleeves and the long gray gloves and the gray spats on his boots. And
hooked from that day forward, and
especially with that character too. Like I told, I'm somewhere in photo albums that my dad has in storage. There's pictures of my shrine to the Undertaker in my room. Like it was wrestling, I'm telling you, dude. Literally, I had thousands of wrestling magazines and pictures just taped to the walls and posters, and there was an Undertaker shrine.
Nerd. No, fuck with you.
Now go ahead. I'll fuck that. I'm telling you.
I'm just joking. Yeah.
But that, and then plus hearing my dad talk about my dad used to go to the Coliseum on Wednesday nights. Grandpa would take him and my uncle down there. And my dad's seen a lot of these guys come through. He's seen Lawler and Bill Dundee go at it. He's seen Joe LeDuc biting the fucking hammer. Like, he's seen the Moondogs, Rex and Spot. I mean, he's seen Adrian Street. Austin Idol was one of his favorites. And, you know, the War Machines. And he's seen Kamala before Kamala went to work for Vince in 91 or 92. Like, he's seen these guys, like the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Midnight Express.
I remember the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, yeah. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson.
You guys were flying all over the place.
Oh, man. They're the Louisville legends. The Louisville legends. You know, the Rock and Roll RPMs and, you know, the Dirty White Boy. Yeah. And we're talking a lot about Memphis, which I was fortunate to grow up where I grew up at a time period and location because I was part of that Memphis hotbed.
Right.
Which
was a big deal back then. I mean, it was really... I mean, I see it. Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry has two boys, Kevin Lawler and Brian. Brian, of course, being Brian Christopher Lawler, which went by Brian Christopher. Brian tragically passed away about 4 or 5 years ago in drug overdose, and I think he had a heart attack in prison or something. It was something over the top. Really tragic. Right. I'm friends with Kevin Lawler on Facebook. Been friends with him for years. Kevin did a little behind the scenes work and did a little refereeing, but Brian always wanted to be the wrestler like his dad. One of the greatest memories of my childhood wrestling. So they come out on Saturday morning, Channel 5 studios there in Memphis where they did all their TV at. Here come Brian Lawler, Brian Chris. Well, of course, Jerry would never admit that he was his son. That was always the gimmick. I'm not Jerry's kid. Lawler later said in life, in a shoot, he never acknowledged Brian as his son in the business because he wanted Brian to be able to get over and be successful on his own. He didn't want everybody to say, well, it's just because you're Jerry Lawler's kid. But here come little Brian. He's pulling this little red wagon. We all had little red wagons when we were kids. Me, you, Dole, God, everybody. Lord Jesus Christ himself. We all had a little red wagon. Here come Brian. And there's a little bitty scale, like what you weigh your food on. Right. And then there was like 5 championship belts. Or it might have been 3. And he just comes in and cuts this cocky little heel promo about how he's the best ever and he's got the gold to prove it. And he's a little feller, but people thinks he can't handle the challenges of being a big man. Well, look how much my gold weighs I'm carrying around. I don't see you carrying around 30 pounds of gold. Look, I've got 3 belts, 10 pounds of gold. Just over the top. And it was awesome. And you know, he's over there, Dave Brown's rousing. It's great shit. Yeah, it's entertaining. Entertaining. And it took off. It took off here. There's nothing more entertaining than watching Ric Flair promos, which I'm sure we'll get to later. I see your list right now, and I don't know what's on it, but it's just funny to me that you're kind of taking charge on this episode. Well, like you're taking charge, but you got stuff. There's a few things up. Well, fuck it. Hit me with it. I don't know how we're going to do this. I'm just... When I feel like we've talked enough, I'll turn it off. I mean... Okay, the argument for years, all of the matches, fake, real, scripted. Okay. I'm a... You know what? Go ahead and finish. Is that all you have wrote? That's all I got wrote. Okay. There. I mean, it's a big argument. Here comes a hot take. And I always tap the mic. This is going to piss people off because this pisses me off. I don't have. If you tell me wrestling's fake, my initial reaction is I'm gonna punch you in the fucking nose. And then say, is that fake? Right? Well, yeah, I mean, is your bloody nose? Okay, but I can't do that. I hate the word fake. I know where I stand on it. To me, real and fake are 2 bad words. And I'm going to use a quote from Jamie Dundee, Superstar Bill Dundee's boy. Wrestled as JCI's Wolfie D, PG-13 tag team. Check out our bonus episode at 2 a.m. in the archives where we spend 45 minutes on wrestling. The hubcap finish, where they hit guys with the hubcap. Anyways, Jamie Dundee once said that real and fake are 2 bad words. Wrestling's fixed; it's not fake. Well, I mean, I was leaning towards scripted. That's always what I say. It's not fake; it's fixed. Right.
These guys are still good athletes. I mean,
they are athletes, and people don't understand that. They are athletes.
Absolutely.
Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle's an Olympic wrestler. Brock Lesnar is a 2 or 3 time NCAA champion. I tried to wrestle in high school after Brock Lesnar. You know, like, these guys are real athletes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fixed. You can't tell me when Owen Hart falls 70 feet to the ring and dies in the ring that's fake.
Fake, right.
Wrestling's fixed. You take a suplex night after night on 2x10s, 12 feet long, 16 feet long, whatever, running across the ring. You're going to feel that after a while. And I'll tell you something you didn't know, and I have no trouble admitting this. I know it's not fake. In 2010, I attempted to live out my dream. In 2010, I took a handful of seminars to be a pro wrestler. I took the very first seminar May 8th, 2010 at the Center in Evansville. Not the Ford Center. Down the road from the Coliseum, there's a smaller venue just called the Center. Now they have the Ford Center, their big arena, because they got rid of Roberts Stadium, but they still have the Center. It's just a smaller venue. I took a training seminar there March 8th, or May 8th, 2010. My cousin, who, the big guy with the beard I showed you, who works in the office where we work at, he took it with me, the first one. I took several more seminars without him, and I was training because, like, I was gonna live my dream.
Right.
I was gonna be a wrestler. I didn't care. In the wrestling business, there's a term called a 40-miler. I didn't care if I was a 40-miler or if I actually made it big. A 40-miler is a guy that gets in his car on a Friday night, drives 40 miles to one town, wrestles, makes $100, $50, drives the next town 40 miles over, wrestles Saturday night, and then Sunday morning he heads out back home to go start his job working 5 to 5 at the factory again.
Right.
So I was training, I was taking bumps. When you first learn to hit the ropes, you know what your latimus muscle is back there, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to absorb the impact.
Right.
In the wrestling business, there's 2 styles of rings. Some people have steel cables that are coated with rubber.
Yeah.
Or others, like the WWE, actually still uses actual rope. And they put colored duct tape over it. Okay. The ring I was in had the steel cables. In all my years of learning wrestling and watching wrestling, not just as a fan, but as a student, I never watched these guys actually hit with their lats. So when I tell you that 2 days after I was pissing blood and my whole side was bruised, looked like I had the shit beat out of me, that's a true story.
That's pretty cool.
I hit the ropes and I was absorbing all the impact with my I was even slimmer back in 2010.
So you're telling me that there's a lot of technique into all the maneuvers they're making.
Timing.
Right on. I mean,
because if your timing is not spot on and you don't trust, you're in wrestling business, you're only as good as your dance partner.
Right.
Meaning the guy you're in the ring with.
Right.
And you have to trust them, but your timing's got to be on. If you botch a move, you're gonna paralyze the guy.
Right.
There's a former Denver Broncos defensive end and linebacker named Darren Drozdoff who ventured into pro wrestling in '97. He accidentally suffered a botched powerbomb at a TV taping in 1999. He's never walked again. Yeah, he's in a wheelchair the rest of his life.
Some of that shit looks pretty dangerous. I mean,
it takes one fuck up, one slip of the hand.
They have to be in unison. You're saying that?
Yeah.
So therefore,
that's why wrestling is fixed, but you feel some of the stuff. I mean, no, you're not actually out there when they show impacts of like some guy will tackle a guy and he's on top of him fucking pounding away. No, 90% of those shots aren't connecting.
Right.
You sell it like it is.
Right. I notice a lot of times when the foot's stomped, they'll hit the mat with their other foot.
See?
Yeah, I mean, I've
trained out, but they're close. They're good because they're good at what they do because they want you to watch the action up here instead of watching the movement of their foot. They're good.
Right.
But I'm also going to tell you this. If you're in a training seminar and you're being trained by a guy born and raised in Washington, Indiana, shout out the natural Chase Stevens, or you're being trained by a guy that passed away
the end of last year, earlier this year of cancer, the wild-eyed Southern boy Tracy Smothers, rest in peace, brother. And they tell you to throw a chop on somebody, and you just hit like a weak chop, and you try to stomp your foot, and then you proceed to get your chest just reamed and those chops, they don't fake those chops.
I said it sounds real. I mean, you
the
can
blisters on your chest, that's real.
Makes me think of the Royal Rumble I watched in
1992. The greatest Royal Rumble of every time.
There was a lot of chops in that. Ric Flair took, I don't know how many chops. And they sounded pretty fucking real.
Ric Flair stole those chops from Wahoo McDaniel. Because a young Ric Flair used to get the shit beat out of him by Wahoo McDaniel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
See, I'm not familiar with Wahoo McDaniel.
What's it say in the intro? I'm a fountain of useless
knowledge. Wrestling
knowledge. That's pretty much what it is.
Yes. I mean,
you were more excited about this episode than what I thought you were going to be. I thought you were going to be like, man, I don't want to talk about this with him.
I can tell you're passionate about it.
Well, I mean,
that kind of gets me juiced up a little bit.
I cracked the joke that I suffered a Steelers episode for you.
Yeah,
so
he did.
High five. You owed me one. You owed me one. We have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely. I mean, that pretty well answers my question on it. I won't say real or fake.
I mean, I'm not going to punch you, dog. I love you, but I'm just...
Well, I mean, that's a big argument.
It really bothers me. And I want to tell you a story real quick. In somewhere between 2006 and 2008, I don't remember the exact year. Those might not even be the real years, but you know me. I hit more than I miss, or I get pretty damn close. Somewhere between 06 and 08, there was a big wrestling, and there's wrestling conventions and assemblies and shit all over the world all year long. There was a big one, I want to say it was out on the East Coast somewhere, and there was a fan, and I don't remember his name. And actually, honestly, now I think about it, this might have even been part of the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is kind of like a pro wrestling Hall of Fame, kind of. The Cauliflower Alley Cup, because you always, cauliflower ear.
Right.
But anyways, whatever it was, just get on your Google machines, YouTube, and type in pro wrestling, and then type in "it's still real to me, damn it." And there's this young guy in the audience. He's sitting there in front of a panel, and I think Jim Cornette's there, and Jeff Jarrett's there, and a handful of guys, and this guy represents a lot of us. This guy just breaks down into tears, and he goes, "Thank you guys for what you put your bodies through, how you've entertained us," and he full fucking blowing waterworks going, "It's still real to me, damn it." And they're all
right.
Yeah, people are giving him a hug, but like that's the passion I have. Like,
right.
The best way, I need another cigarette. You see how passionate I get. Before we move on, I'm gonna end it pretty much with this. I get asked by some people, it's like, man, your obsession with wrestling, it's fake, right? Like, why are you so enamored with it? And I'm like, you know what? I hate fake, it's fixed, but you know what? Fine, I'll tolerate. Yeah, it's fake. You know what? It's like magic. You remember David Copperfield?
Oh, yeah.
He made the Statue of Liberty disappear, right?
Right.
Okay. Where am I going with this?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it didn't really disappear.
Right.
But I know it wasn't there when I seen it.
Right.
I don't want to know how he did it. I just know it didn't go anywhere, but when it was there, I didn't see it.
Right.
That's what it is with wrestling.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yes.
David Copperfield didn't make it. It never left the fucking what is that? The Hudson River Bay or the Bay or what? Whatever the fuck it's called. It never left.
I've been up in that statue, by the way. It's kind of creepy.
I'm gonna go to New York one day.
It's kind of creepy up there.
But the point is,
right?
It didn't physically leave the water, but when we all looked, it wasn't there.
Right.
I don't know how he did it. I don't want to know how he did it.
Right.
That's what it is with wrestling.
I can understand that, for sure. I just had to bring it up because
I'm glad you did.
It's a question that people want to talk about pro wrestling. I mean, so I'm gonna use the word scripted.
Script is good. Script is good.
It's definitely scripted.
Most of the time, those outcomes are predetermined. Now that doesn't mean things don't change.
Do they ad lib?
Sometimes guys have been known to change a fan. Like these
I've
guys,
seen guys talking to each other
in the ring. Well, you have to communicate
like in a corner against the turnbuckle or what have you.
Guys with long hair can hide it real well because you can get your hair in front of your face.
Right. But they're definitely saying something to each other.
And plus, what a lot of people don't think about this is the guys that are in the production trucks on bigger event, like the WWE shows or like some of the companies that are now, the guys that actually have TV programs, those guys in the production truck are kind of smartened up to things too because they're trained on camera shots because you cannot get that close.
Right.
You don't want to reveal your secrets.
Right.
So, I mean, they're good with their camera cuts. And,
I mean, it's been very few times, but I have caught some.
Oh, well, sure. And, or you're going to hear them talking loud. Like, John Cena is one of the most popular guys in the world. John Cena is almost that point now like Hulk Hogan was. If you don't know shit about pro wrestling, it's that thing John Cena does. Right. Cena's been one of the guys that's been pretty vocal. He gets loud calling his spots so you can pick it up on the audio.
Right.
But.
Okay, that's pretty much.
But like I said, it's scripted. But sometimes a guy will get hurt in the ring, and they'll have to change the finish. Like, fuck, man, I just broke my arm. Just roll me up, pin me.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Your favorite wrestler?
Well, that's a tricky question. You
ask me who my favorite band is.
Well, it's a tricky question because are you asking me my favorite wrestler or are you asking me like my favorite character? Because that's a completely different question.
Okay, your favorite character.
Well,
how about both? How about your favorite wrestler?
Okay. Favorite wrestler. I've got to go with Bret Hart, probably. The pink and black attack. I mean, he used to. The whole thing when they were heels, which in wrestling terms, for those that don't know, heels are the bad guys, baby faces are the good guys.
Right.
When he started out with Jim Neidhart, his brother-in-law, and they were the Hart Foundation, they switched to pink because they said, we're the only two men bad enough to wear pink and get away with it. I loved watching Bret work. Shawn Michaels was another good one.
Yeah, very technical.
But if you talk about my favorite character, it's hands down who it's going to be.
Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, how many 8x10s were in that bag over there?
A bunch of Undertaker.
I can't wait to get our studio done, and there's going to be a wall of 8x10 wrestling, and just it's covered.
He even said he'd let me put a Pittsburgh Steelers thing up.
I will let you put some Steelers memorabilia in there.
Way to go, bro.
I'll get you a Mean Joe Green jersey frame hanging there. The Undertaker gimmick, just and you know what's even funnier about this? The first few years of my life when I started, he scared the shit out of me.
Well, yeah,
he was terrifying.
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't. Paul Bearer did a lot of the voice work, and Taker didn't say much, but when he did, it was low, it was slow, and he was like, the maggots. As the maggots infest in your eyeballs and you breathe your last breath, you'll know that the man putting your soul to sleep was the Undertaker, and you will not rest in peace because there's no peace inside the Undertaker's mortuary.
Damn, I would sleep with the lights on, dude.
I mean, and he had so many versions of that character, like in my favorite version of the Undertaker, and actually I will open my phone here to show you a picture. My favorite version of the Undertaker was the shortest version. It was 1999. It was the Ministry of Darkness era Undertaker. This is where he had turned heel. He had been a babyface for like 6 years, and he turned heel and December of 98. So in 1999, he the darkest version of himself. And I'm going to show you pictures here. This is why I never wear a beard, besides the fact I can't grow one. I always wear the chin goatee, because this was the Undertaker in 1999. Look at those pictures and tell me that's not fucking creepy.
That is creepy.
The way his goatee looks and everything, and how it's pointed. That was 99 Undertaker. That was the most evil form of his character.
He played the bad guy part.
He did. But that character's so hard. Nobody wanted to hate that character. It was hard. So then in 99, he tears his groin and he goes off TV. And he comes back in May of 2000 on the motorcycle. So he's now the American Badass. Okay. Like, hey, I've played this dark character for years. This is a real life version of me. And it worked for about 3 years. And then people were missing the Undertaker. So they take him out. He takes some time off with another injury. They take him off TV. And then in 2004, he comes back at WrestleMania 20. And he's that version of The Undertaker for another 16 years before he hangs it up in November. So.
That's a pretty good run. And right before he come along is about the time I got cable.
Well, see, he came
ESPN
November of 1990. November 22nd, 1990. Of course, his real name is Mark Callaway. Mark had worked in wrestling for a handful of years before. He'd worked in WCW. He spent some time in Memphis. He spent some time in world-class championship wrestling, not WCW. This was WCCW. This was down in Dallas, Texas. This was owned by the Von Erich family.
Right.
Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah.
The guy with the one leg.
Yeah, did not know that for a long time.
That was his family's
his leg from
from a motorcycle accident.
Knee down.
Yeah, he used to shower with his boots on so nobody would know.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon's the most powerful guy in wrestling. How the fuck are you going to hide from him that you're missing a leg and pull it off successfully?
Right. That's crazy.
But Undertaker's first match was against Bruiser Brody, and I'm telling you guys right now, there's never been a more hard-hitting, scary fucking guy than Bruiser Brody. He got stabbed to death in Puerto Rico in 1988. They never charged the guy with murder, called it self-defense.
Really?
Yeah. Puerto Rico was a place that a lot of people wanted to go and work. And then after Bruiser Brody got stabbed to death and basically almost died right there on the arena locker room floor, that was a place people wouldn't go anymore. Huh. But anyways, Taker's very first match in wrestling was against Bruiser Brody. He said I locked up with him and I kind of clipped him when we unlocked. He said, and then for the next 8 minutes I had the shit kicked out of me. He goes, Brody come up, here come this big furry boot, kicked me in the fucking face. I seen stars. He threw me out of the ring, grabbed me by my hair, said, come on, kid, we're going for a walk outside. He said he hit me on every ring post, broke a steel chair. Back then it was the chairs with the wooden slats.
Right.
Said broke that steel chair, those wooden slats splintered all into my back. And it's great.
But entertaining.
There was another character that I was really behind that I really enjoyed. And this is recent. WWE's been in the last couple of years, especially with the COVID pandemic, has been on this thing of releasing a bunch of talent here lately. And they released a young man named Wyndham Rotunda, who was wrestling as Bray Wyatt. And he had a gimmick when he first came in as kind of like this southern backwoods cult leader preacher, and he played it really well for a few years, and then he took some time off TV, and then he came back in the spring of 2019 as this character called The Fiend, which is like this evil, just fucking evil, twisted, and Bray could wrestle as himself, or he would bring out The Fiend, which is this evil clown almost. Ooh. And they had this thing called the Firefly Funhouse. There was a bunch of puppets, and it was a children's theme song. And actually, I want you to hear this. And I'm gonna put it up. So WWE owns all this content, but if they can find this podcast with not very many downloads and views, I'll take the video down.
Right.
But I want you to see why I like this. Here we go. It just sounds so creepy.
Creepy.
Yeah, it is. Here we go. Here's the theme song. So look at that. Tell me that don't look creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Well, of course we have commercials.
But it's twisted. And this got me really back into wrestling, excited about it 2 years ago. Ain't that fucking creepy?
That's a little bit creepy, yeah.
It's creepy, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling lonely today. So, but that's probably my favorite character. Now, of course, now he's been released.
Right.
And what was cool about this at the time, going back 2 years ago, is I remember thinking, God, let this man have creative control. In the wrestling business, creative control basically means you let certain talent be able to make major decisions or have major inputs on their character. Not every talent is afforded that luxury. You have to have a little bit of pool, move some merchandise, be well liked by Vince and the guys or whoever the promoter is if they're working for a different company, to have creative control. And I can remember thinking, if they let him have creative control, this gimmick's going to run to the moon. And it got pushed to the moon.
Right.
And I want you to see this, the Fiend debut in the Firefly.
Fiend.
Yeah. They're right here. Tell me this don't creep you out. This is where Bray develops the Fiend. And just this gimmick. Once again, shout out World Wrestling Entertainment. This is your shit. We don't own any of it, but if you can find me, I'll take it down. This was from May 13th, 2019. I'm going to let you watch it.
No, silly. Not there.
Ain't that kind of creepy already?
Yeah.
The puppets.
Yowie, wowie. You found me.
And it's like a children's TV show.
Right.
But
Glad you did. Because this week,
Okay.
I have a secret.
What kind of animal is that right there?
it's a buzzard.
Buzzard.
Good.
That's Abby the Witch.
Okay.
I got stuff to do.
Buzzard.
Oh, come on.
Ain't this kind of creepy?
It's almost time for me.
Yeah.
But they make it like a TV show for
Right.
kids, and it was getting attention.
I can't do it alone.
It was getting ratings, and the internet wrestling community was just in love with this.
So, who's with me? Oh, that just warms my soul. But don't worry, there's still a lot of darkness in this old noggin.
Oh, no.
But this time it's different. This time, I learned how to harness it, how to control
His
it.
gloves, you see his gloves?
Yes.
One says hurt, one says heal.
Yeah.
So it's always which one is he listening to?
See my secret.
Now here is where he debuts the Fiend. And I want you to tell me what you first think when you first see this. This is creepy, right? A lot of old antique dolls and stuff.
Yes.
Wait till he turns around. Look at his mask. I'll tell you about the mask in a second.
Oh, dude.
That's borderline psychotic.
Yeah.
And they target that towards children.
Pretty scary looking.
And he always would say, "Let me in."
Yeah.
The guy that made his mask for him to wear was Tom Savini. You know, I know you don't know that name. Tom Savini was one of the guys that helped design the Jason Voorhees masks for the Friday the 13th movies. So anyways, those would be my favorite characters, but favorite wrestlers. I mean, another guy that could work in the wrestling business. A good worker just means a guy that can have a match with anybody. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, I heard him.
Ricky could wrestle a broomstick.
Right.
And, you know.
Pretty athletic, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. His match, WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 3 was 1987. That was the year before I was born. One of my top 10 favorite matches of all time. Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, Intercontinental title, 93,000 people, Pontiac Silverdome, Michigan. March 87. 93,000 in the Silverdome. People.
Yeah. That's pretty...
That's where Hogan beat Andre.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to watch one of them, but I didn't get around to watching the Hulk Andre fight or match.
I get passionate talking about wrestling.
I can tell.
I fucking love... You owed me one. That's what I'm telling you. You owed me one for the Steelers episode.
Oh, yeah.
And the eventual Dodgers history.
Yes.
Because I'm going to have to dig all the way back to the Brooklyn Dodgers for that. What else you got?
Yeah, let me see.
We can talk
which do you like better?
What
Tag team or solo matches?
Tag team wrestling.
Me too. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, because tag team wrestling is a dying art.
Not only... I mean, there's more guys involved now, so all four have to be on the same page.
And there's certain things like guys don't know how to work fucking tag matches anymore. If you're gonna be a professional wrestler, the word there is professional. So you got to do things the right way, even if you're playing a heel or a babyface. You got to do things the right way. Did you ever notice? On the ring ropes, and then you go to the corner. They've got the 3 pads. They call them the turnbuckles. Have you ever noticed on the top turnbuckle pad, there's like this little bitty rope that's like maybe like a foot, 2-3 foot.
Yes.
That's called a tag rope.
Okay.
Technically, and I guess they don't teach these guys this anymore. If you grow up in the Southern style or the Memphis style wrestling and watch like me and you did, they drum that in your head. If you're on the apron, you're holding the tag rope. Guys don't do that anymore. They don't teach that anymore. They don't. You go watch. I dare you. You go watch a lot of these tag team matches. You never see guys working the tag ropes. That's what they're there for. Because you're supposed to be on one hand on that rope.
Right.
A lot of guys don't work that style anymore.
Right.
And tag wrestling was... Tag team wrestling just gets me excited because it's a dying art. Like, you look at some of the greatest tag teams of all time. Hart Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite tag team, my other favorite tag team, PG-13. Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson, part of the Four Horsemen, or when it became just Arn and Tully.
Right.
Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty with the Rockers.
The Rock and Roll Express.
The Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express.
I can remember that.
So many.
That's my favorite form of it. It's a tag team.
The wars between the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. There's a clip on YouTube from here. I could fucking pull it up. WCW, the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express are going at it. I think Midnight invaded on Rock and Roll, and Jim Ross was, they don't even work here, damn it. They don't even work here. It's just, I'm getting excited.
Yeah, right on, brother.
Tag team, solo wrestling, it's a good story to tell. One-on-one singles matches. I just feel like there's so much more to the story. You add 2 other guys in.
Yeah,
you can tell a story. And tag matches are so beautiful because if you're having a down night in the ring and the crowd's not responding to you, you can't get anything out of the crowd, tag out.
Right.
Tag the other 2 guys in.
Right.
You can do something. Something's gonna.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. They think wrestling is just, he's going to hit him with a move. He's going to hit him with a move. There's a psychology. It's called storytelling for a reason.
Right.
Well, how do you tell a story with moves? Because it's supposed to flow. Every move is supposed to make sense. Everything, it's supposed to tell a consistent flowing story.
And there's a lot of hours of preparation going into this, isn't there?
Well, yeah. I mean it's training, and you only get better with every match you have. Well, some guys suck.
I wonder how many heated rivals in the match, but they were friends outside the match. Was there anything like that ever?
You mean backstage heat between guys?
Yeah.
All the fucking time. It's the wrestling business.
Was it the other way around, or was it enemies in the ring and the friends out?
Well, there's outside? A lot of guys.
I mean,
you got you got to understand where we're at with wrestling now. Kayfabe is basically dead nowadays, for the most part. What killed kayfabe? A lot of things. Social media killed kayfabe. The WWE releasing the network the WWE Network going live in 2014, that helped kill kayfabe. A lot of things killed kayfabe to where things aren't always what they see. Because you back in the day, there was a golden rule of wrestling. You kept kayfabe alive. You kept the secrets of the business. Heels and babyface didn't ride together. You gotta think, these guys are on the road. Back in the 80s, shit, these guys were working 300 days a year.
Right.
They were on the road 300 days a fucking year, dude.
Right.
Sometimes doing double shots on Sundays. 300 days a year. So they travel with a lot of the same people. And sometimes, you know, they would not let heels and babyfaces ride together, which was before the internet craze, because what if somebody sees you? Right, looking back on it now, who gave a fuck if you stopped for gas in, you know, some little bitty hick town in Arkansas?
Right, but now
when nobody could see you. But
nowadays, social media and everything.
Yeah, and you got guys overexposed the business.
Not a fan of social media, by the way.
I keep telling you I'm going to put you on Facebook because I have so much shit I want to send you. I'm going to set you up Facebook one day. Strictly just for me.
I'm not on social media.
I know. He said it. He tried to. Go ahead. Go ahead and say it again. Shout out to the very first. I'm an analog man. I know. In a digital world.
That's right. I would like to check out some of that cool stuff, but I have to actually have a Facebook account. What? I'm pretty.
You'll find people you went to school with right away. That's how Facebook, sure, because you'll put it in what year you went to graduate high school.
That part of it might be pretty cool, I guess. But
yeah, and then I can send you all the dirty stuff that gets you kicked off Facebook. I've been kicked off Facebook dozens of times.
Timeout or what?
It's 2021. We're in an overly sensitized time in the world now. Yeah. So things you could say on Facebook 10 years ago, you can't really say that. I still drop F-bombs just because I push the envelope. The day the F-bomb gets censored is the day I bow out. Fuck it, right?
Right.
But you know, going back to like, oh my God, there's real life rivalries outside of the ring. You have some guys that hate each other. They can't stand each other, but yet when they get to the ring and it's go time, it's bell time, money's on the table. There's a $200,000 house sitting out there, and there's $20 million, $10 million sold on pay-per-view, whatever. You put personal differences aside, and you work the match,
right?
You work the finish, and then everybody collects a paycheck. You go home,
right?
But that's
just kind of curious.
That's also funny because the way Memphis ran, Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler had a real simple philosophy, and this is fun. This is a funny story. It's widely known that inside the Memphis wrestling offices there was a sign that said "Personal issues draw money," and if you look at pro wrestling, that's true. If you have a personal problem with somebody,
right,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, I could talk hours. What else you got? I don't have no format for this episode. We're just talking wrestling.
Who's your favorite announcers? Ringside announcers.
Ringside announcers. It starts and ends.
You know where I'm going.
Well, I was gonna say it begins and it should begin and end with Lance Russell, which is who you were gonna say.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to put Lance Russell at 2.
Okay.
Because I have to put Jim Ross at 1.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Jim Ross worked WCW, and he worked for Bill Watts at Mid-South, and JR worked a lot of places. Then he come to work for Vince in 93. But just because of the boom period of wrestling, which was the Monday Night Wars with WCW in the 90s and the Attitude Era, Jim Ross was a part of so many calls. Like, to this day, still going back to my childhood, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, there's so many Jim Ross moments calls attached to moments in wrestling. You know, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Igloo, June 28th, 1998, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker, Mankind. Taker throws Foley 16 feet off top of the cell through the announcer's table. Good God Almighty! Good God Almighty, that killed him! God is my witness, he's broken in half! You know, like, Austin, March 29th, 1998. Fleet Center, Boston, Massachusetts, WrestleMania 14. Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Michaels drops the title to Austin because Austin's going to carry them to the promised land. You know, when Tyson was the guest enforcer for that match, okay? They were bringing Tyson in 98, kind of a crossover, right. Big money deal. Tyson made a hell of a chunk.
Right.
But Tyson's affiliation got them a boost in ratings. Okay, when Tyson won the world title and he knocked out, was it Spinks?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd they say? The Tyson era has begun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Stone Cold Stunner, Austin hooks Michael's leg. Here comes fucking Mike Tyson, 1, 2, 3. They ring the bell. JR's like, the Austin era has begun. Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. And then, you know, Shawn Michaels gets up to fucking try to punch Tyson. Tyson, which, by the way, Shawn's like, do not let this motherfucker hit me in the face, Vince, because I will be pissed. They told Tyson, just get the punch close enough, Shawn will take the dive, which is what he did. Tyson, right hand, JR goes, Tyson, 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 right hand, down goes Michaels. I mean, there's so many calls.
Iconic moments.
Yeah, like he was SummerSlam 2000, or it might have been 99. Vince's son Shane McMahon's working a match with Steve Blackman, who was a hell of a hand, which that's another wrestling term, a hell of a hand, just good mat mechanic. Right. Guy could have a match with anybody. Never really got over as an entertainer, you know, but they've got some sort of spot they're doing, and Shane climbs up the side of the fucking Titantron, and Blackman follows him up, and they've got that goddamn kendo stick, and he's whacking him in the back, and Shane just falls back off of it, plunges 60 feet into a cardboard filled and padded dumpster. That was the spot. He's like, oh my God! And he's got so many iconic calls.
Damn, a lot of these guys were stunt guys too, wasn't he?
Vince's son Shane just liked to jump off shit because his dad would never let him be a wrestler. So when he had the chance to go out and work a special match, he always had some sort of stunt.
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking of more memorable JR moments, but they're not coming here right now.
Lawler, he announced.
Lawler was the color guy. Lawler's always got talking about tits all the time. Puppies with their little cute furry pink noses, which nipples, you know. Yeah. It's just, you know. Sorry, we're being honest.
Right.
Adjust my mic a little bit here. I'd probably put Lance Russell at 2. Joey Styles deserves to be in it. For those of you that don't know Joey Styles, at the time in the 90s, the 3 biggest promotions going was the WWF, WWE now. There was WCW, and then there was the company with the such cult following that exists today, ECW,
right.
Extreme Championship Wrestling, based in Philadelphia. Philly is a bloodthirsty wrestling town. The ECW Arena was a bingo hall during the day.
Okay.
Now it's called the 2300 Arena or something. It was on the corner of Swanson and Rittner Street, which is infamous in wrestling. Joey Styles was the announcer. This guy called 3-hour pay-per-view shows with no color commentator. He just called the entire show himself, which is a hell of a thing to do. And Joey Styles had just his was always over the top. Oh my God! That's what he did. And Joey could name the moves too. and you know, it wouldn't be a, oh, what a maneuver, like sometimes the other announcers in the other what a maneuver. No, Joey would say, oh my God, single leg Boston Crab, step over toe hold. Oh, the Goga Plata. You know, it wouldn't be a, oh, that's a hellacious choke with his foot there. No, it's a fucking Goga Plata. Like, you know, anyways, Joey.
The Diamond Cutter.
The Diamond Cutter.
I just thought he popped in my head.
Diamond Dallas Page, yes. Diamond Cutter.
Yes.
DDP, you're going to feel the bang.
I don't know why he just popped in my head, but he didn't. I can remember watching him wrestle something.
But the funny thing about all those guys that I mentioned, like Lance Russell and Jim Ross and Joey Styles, they all point to one guy as the best, and that would be the late, great Gordon Soley.
Okay.
Gordon Soley did a lot of work for the NWA, and of course, I don't remember how much, if Gordon did any work in the late 80s when Jim Crockett Promotions and Mid-Atlantic branched out to become WCW and got away from the NWA's rule and thumb. That I don't remember. Like I said, there ain't much I don't know, but that I don't. But they all those guys always point to Gordon Soley as the best, and Gordon Soley he was a hell of an announcer. And you know, honestly, here's a hot take. Some people might not agree. I don't necessarily think the announcer should be part of the show. And I say that because I think the announcer is there to get the talent over and get the product over. The announcer themselves are not there to get over, but if you're good at what you do, which by the way, get over is another wrestling term for those listening who might be listening who aren't wrestling fans, and it's I don't even have to explain it. Get over means just get over. That means you're doing your job. If your job is to get people to hate you, they're hating you. If your job is to get people to love you, they're loving you. Right. If you're getting popular, moving merchandise, if you have signs in the crowd, if you have people wanting to see you perform, you're getting over.
Right.
And in the process, some announcers would get themselves over. So, I mean, it's a catch-22. I don't think they should be as much a part of the show in that respect. Obviously, they work for the company, but, you know, Lance Russell and Dave Brown are always going to hold a special spot in my heart because, like I said, I was fortunate if I was born in 87. I know. I tried to find that on YouTube. I could not find that USWA Open anywhere.
Yeah, that's a great open, man.
And I wanted to. I did watch, and I should have sent you this, I did watch... and I know we're going to cover a lot of Ric Flair stuff in this. We're an hour and 10 minutes in, and I don't even feel like we've covered 5% of what I want to talk about. So, like I said, we'll go till we shut the mic off, or you say, like, fuck it, dude, we're done. But the NWA didn't make a lot of stops through Memphis, but in the early 80s, they did. And Jerry Lawler, I get so excited, dude. Lawler wrestled Ric Flair in a Channel 5 studio. Oh yeah, it was impressive. See, Memphis would always want to do a title change, and the NWA, for whatever intents and purposes, was not keen on doing a title switch in Memphis. So they finally got pissed off, Lawler and Memphis, and they started working with Vern Gagne up in Minneapolis, the AWA. So they did title changes with the AWA instead. The NWA. You got to think, there's so many people sitting on that board of directors, a bunch of promoters, and they all want the champion to be the guy in their territory, which didn't always happen. Ric Flair carried the NWA umbrella in the 80s. Of course, time to time, Dusty would take over, Ronnie Garvin, Wildfire, Tommy Rich, Barry Windham, you know, whatever. They weren't keen on doing a title switch in Memphis, but the program, the brief stop in Memphis with Flair and Lawler was something spectacular to see. You'll have to watch that sometime.
I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it was impressive, dude. Not even going to lie.
I mean, I've got a few more questions here. And then,
hey, man, ask away. We're going to talk for a while, probably.
Let's see here. Where is pro wrestling headed now?
Where is it headed right now?
That's another part due to the UFC. I mean, it's had to impact pro wrestling.
Yeah, and this is an episode where we did the boxing thing, Tyson Ali, and we're still going to do, I think, do an episode on MMA.
Where's it headed now?
I mean, but you're still going to have people that like wrestling. I don't know where it's headed right now as much as UFC. I know where it's headed right now because, which is where you're not going to be as familiar with this as where I am. We are in a crazy time in pro wrestling. Like Kurt, I get passionate. Like, I love this sport. Absolutely. Like, I love this business. Like, in this business,
I can feel it radiating from it. Yes.
This business has always went in spurts with its popularity and its boom periods. The 60s, Gorgeous George comes in and wrestling starts to climb, and then it hits the 80s and it's like a boom period.
Right.
Then in the the early 90s, it flatlines.
Right.
And just the wrestling business completely falls on its ass. And then here you go, WCW Nitro comes in 95, the ratings war, and then from like 97, 98 on up to like 03, 04, wrestling goes through the fucking roof, like this boom period. And that, to this day, is why I will say that Austin is always the bigger star than Hogan. So getting off track for one minute here, there's always going to be the debate on who's the bigger star in pro wrestling. Some people say there is no wrestling without Hulk Hogan. That's true. There's also no future of wrestling without Steve Austin. And just for the simple fact of what they were doing at that time in the 90s, who does not want to go to work? Sorry, Adam. Who does not want to go to work on Monday morning and kick their boss right in the testicles and hit him with a Stone Cold Stunner? That's what fucking made that thing draw, because he was McMahon played the villain, the evil owner, the evil boss. Who the fuck does not want to knock their boss in the grapefruits? Right? I mean, like... And people tuned in because they wanted to see what... Dude, my childhood in the 90s, 1 week, Vince McMahon's... They bought a $70,000 Corvette on a Monday morning at like 8:30 from whatever town they were in that night, and then had Austin fill it with cement later that night as part of a storyline. A $70,000 car. Austin later said, I almost told Vince, don't let me do this to this car. I will take it home. Like,
that's crazy.
Vince McMahon pissed his pants live on TV. Everybody thought that was a gimmick. Gimmick means fake, fixed.
Right.
They thought that was a gimmick. Vince literally pissed himself on TV. Austin pulled out a toy gun on the air and put it to his head. Can't do that shit nowadays. Back in the 90s, you could.
Right.
He literally pissed his pants.
Didn't know that.
But I didn't lost track of where we were at. We were talking. I was talking about Austin.
Where was the rest?
Okay, so where's it headed? We're headed towards another boom period, because now you've got this other company that's been around for about a year and a half now called AEW, All Elite Wrestling, and the stuff that they're doing, they're a lot of young independent talents coming in, a lot of guys leaving the WWE's coming in. You've got this other company called Impact Wrestling, which used to be called TNA, which used to be part of the NWA rebrand in the early 2000s. Wrestling is still big in Japan. You've got New Japan Pro Wrestling. You've got Major League Wrestling. You've got Ring of Honor.
So it's not dying.
I would say for the last few years, it's been on what I like to call life support, and that's a hot take. Anybody out there that's a wrestling fan, challenge me on that. I say it's been kind of a dying thing, but there's a lot of shit going on right now in the last 6 months to a year. Wrestling's kind of, I think, on its way to a boom period. WWE ratings are tanking. For the last 20 years, they've been pretty much the only game in town.
Right.
In the mid 2000s to the early 2010s, TNA kind of pushed them a little bit. NWA, TNA, and then it became TNA, now it's Impact. They pushed them, but they never got close to them, let's be honest. But WWE ratings have tanked so bad lately, so they're releasing all this talent, and the guy running the company, Vince's right-hand man now, this motherfucker is, I don't know, his name is Nick Khan, and I every time I see his face, I just want to drop a turd on it or something. But it's given the impression that they're going to do a total overhaul of what they've got. And this past, just last night, their ratings for Friday Night SmackDown pulled in the highest ratings of any WWE programs pulled in about 6 months.
There you go, man.
So
it sounds like
there might be a resurgence coming.
Right, excuse me.
I don't know, but where is it headed right now?
Wait,
it's looking good. This is an exciting time.
What impact does the UFC have on it? I mean, do you think?
Right now, I don't think none. None at all. Like UFC, honestly, you haven't heard a lot about mixed martial arts lately. I mean, no. I'm sure they're still doing their business. UFC is going to make money despite itself.
Right.
I don't know where they're at right now, but I don't think anything they're doing is have any bearing on pro wrestling.
Okay. I'm just curious. I mean,
there for a while, I mean, they were kind of hand in hand. You know.
Who's the wrestler? Any wrestler can be that put the most asses in the seats.
I got the asses in seats term from?
Where?
Wrestling.
I mean,
that's become like your favorite catchphrase.
I like it. I mean,
who in wrestling right now can put asses in seats?
The overall, the wrestler that put the most. I mean, the biggest impact.
It don't matter what company, just any guy.
Don't matter. They literally put asses in the seats.
I blew up Facebook 2 weeks ago because CM Punk, a guy I've watched since 2003, came back to wrestling after 7 years off. He was fired by WWE on his wedding day in 2014. He had reached a breaking point with them, and he walked out. They terminated him on his wedding day 3 months later. And he took 7 years off of pro wrestling, and he came back. And you want to know why this is big? He sold out the United Center in Chicago, where the Bulls played. Right, the statue of Michael Jordan's out front.
Right.
2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. 2 weeks ago or last week Friday. So, whatever. I can't remember the date. He sold out that building full of CM Punk fans because he's from Chicago. He sold out that building on just a rumor he was going to be there.
Really?
Nobody knew for sure if he was going to be there because they kept teasing and everything.
I mean,
they never said he officially signed with AEW.
Is it going to go Hulkamania?
He's got a cult following. He does. He's a straight edge wrestler. The whole no drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco. He put asses in seats. Honestly, if they release Bray Wyatt, if Bray goes to AEW, that's going to be big. That could put asses in seats. Honestly, what would put asses in seats, and I hate to be a homer for my childhood, you have The Rock come back for a match at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Fun fact.
The Rock smells something cooking.
Fun fact. When I was out for my foot for 2 weeks, and I told you this, I started working on something on my computer. I was going to release a bonus episode. I was going to podcast at night because I was bored. I was at home with my bummed up foot for 2 weeks, remember?
Right.
So I had this thing out, and I'm still working on it, where The Rock comes out. They think he's going to make an announcement, and I'm typing paragraphs as The Rock, and they think he's going to... he's leaving Hollywood, going back to wrestling, and then they're asking, well, you don't think you can wrestle at 45 years of age, do you? You think you compete with WWE talent? And The Rock's like, I didn't say I was going to be a talent. Oh, so you're going to be helping the young stars? So are you going to be on the road at WWE? I never said I was going to WWE. So basically, The Rock's like creating his own company, and I wrote down all the stars I'm signing, and I'm pulling a Vince McMahon poaching talent like he did in the 80s, and I haven't finished it. It's real cool, nerdy shit. So I'll have to show you, but I don't know. There's a lot of guys that could put asses in the seat.
Right.
It's funny to see you use that.
Well, I mean, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, like I say, it's been early '90s
since the days of Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice and the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah. Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh yeah. That's the guys that stick out my mind.
Alpha and Sika, the Wild Samoans, the Savages.
Yes.
Andre the Giant.
And right at that time, I guess, like you said, it was a downward swing.
It kind of was, yeah.
And that's kind of where I lost out on the wrestling. Of course, like I said, I got cable and the ESPN and other things.
You were too busy raising children and loving and
life.
Yeah. Coal mining,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
you think about what your retirement would be right now if you were still at that coal mine?
Be pretty nice.
You'd be able to buy 3 of these metropolises right here.
Oh yeah, for sure. But purchase some of the farm maybe.
We don't need to get into family details over a podcast, but I have my own viewpoints on your family and
well, I'm a black sheep.
Sometimes the black sheep are the best ones, though.
Yeah. Oh well, it is what it is.
You want to have a little fun with the few listeners we have?
Sure.
Right now, the only listeners we have is Doyle and Luck. Luck usually lays beside us, but even he's tired of this crap. He went over there. What were you doing earlier? You were quizzing me. Oh, you kept playing all these intros things, and it took me a minute to figure out the theme.
The Royal Rumble in order.
And then what did I start doing? After I got to like a certain year, I started rambling off everyone that won the next year, didn't I?
He did, yes, for sure.
Is that not nerdy shit?
I don't know.
I'm going to applaud myself, though.
Yeah.
That's some nerdy shit.
1 or 2.
1 or 2, I was a little.
Well,
there he is. He heard us talking about him. Luck, come over here and say hi.
Whoa,
come here.
Old fella.
He's an old man, Kurt.
Yeah, he is.
Look.
He's a good boy.
Look. Did you go outside and mow grass?
Yeah.
In the dark?
He turned his light on.
I had a night vision light on.
And got night vision?
He turned his light on out there.
Oh, that light. The basketball light.
Yeah.
But the motor started running weird, so I quit right in the middle of the whole yard.
It's cooler.
It is a lot cooler. And the advisories have said, wait till it gets night to do your outdoor activities. So.
Yes.
So what are you going to do now? Play 2K while we're podcasting?
I'm going to do a little bit on 2K and then I'm probably going to take a shower because I just looked home 3 ants out of here.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
All right, Kurt. Kurt, you know what we should do?
What's that?
Plug a sponsor.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. I don't know. At this point tonight, the only thing the laptop's doing is sponsored rundowns, and it's charging the recorder. So you want to plug a sponsor?
Yeah, let's plug a sponsor.
They keep saying they're going to make our logos, and I think I ought to ask them if they'll make us a hat.
That'd be cool.
Anyways, check out Main Street Designs LLC in Jasper. They specialize in laser engraving and direct garment printing. They also do vinyl decals, baby blankets, and all kinds of cool personalized stuff for you or your business. Message them on Facebook. Give them a call at 812-661-7765 or 812-661-7488. That's Main Street Designs LLC. They're really good, nice people. They share our podcast stuff all the time, and I appreciate that. And I think I'm going to get with them. I'd like to get a hat, man.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That way I wouldn't have to see you wear that ridiculous Steelers hat all the time.
I just washed.
It's clean.
I just washed it, by the way.
This Steelers hat, my God, people. You ought to see how dirty this thing was.
They could see it on our steel toes and
scoreboards. It was very dirty.
Dirty. Yes, it was dirty.
Shout out to my little El Salvadorian buddy, one of my best friends at work. Jose. I won Jose.
Hey.
To know Jose is to love Jose. You guys will love him. It's very dirty. Migo, that's so dirty. You're so dirty.
I'll be lazy today.
Yeah, he say I'll be lazy today.
He's rubbing his belly.
He is such a small little fella, but that belly on him is impressive. That is a Modelo and Corona gut.
Great guy.
Do anything for anybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Worked on your car.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm already paying him a favor. He's going to be hanging drywall here before long. I told him I'd come down. I got all brawn and no brain. I can help hang some drywall.
Neither one of us got any brains. That's why we're podcasting and still working a full-time job because we're not successful at it yet. Okay, so, Main Street Designs LLC. Give them a check out. Give them a shout out. Give them a phone call. Whatever you want to do. Okay, back to pro wrestling. We're an hour and a half in, and I don't know. I could keep going 2.5 more hours. I don't know. We'll see what we do.
Wait, I'm sitting around thinking of things to ask you
Ask
along
me.
the way.
I mean, I'll ad lib. We'll talk. Ask me. You got something to ask me?
I'm gonna have to conjure up another one here.
Well, I mean, we could always. By the way, so at Kurt's house when we sit in the kitchen, and there's a window unit right beside us, so we have to turn it off because otherwise, all you're gonna hear is.
Yes.
That was me blowing in the mic. How's that feel in your ears right now? So we turn it off. So I got this neat little button or I hit that they never know we're gone.
Well,
It was good pizza though.
yeah.
Hey, we're back. We're back. You guys didn't even know you were phased out for about an hour.
I had to get my 2K fix in.
Yeah. I watched Kurt Dole play a little NBA 2K, and I was eBay shopping wrestling stuff for the studio, which is not even finished. Not even built. We're passing around a community cigarette lighter. Kurt just told me, you might have to take over talking pretty soon. My voice might be losing it.
It's fading.
Yeah, but when you're this close, you ain't got to be that loud.
Right. It's got a crackle in it or something.
I don't even remember where the fuck we were. We were just talking wrestling. That's all we were doing.
Right.
You were asking me questions.
We might have been.
You're crossing off every one you do.
Yeah, I mean, I've about been through all of them that I had so far. Where is?
I think the last thing you said was MMA and
Who's putting that? Or was it who's putting asses in the seat?
yeah, who's putting asses in the seats?
Yeah.
We did that one. He just was scraping at his damn. Luck is
Spoiled.
He's a creature of habit.
Yes.
Dole, you know, like a month and a half, 2 months ago when you were gone on your date, he was paranoid walking the floor where you were gone.
Oh, yeah. They don't like
That was the night me and Kurt did the bonus episode and I was here till like 4 a.m. He was pacing the floor till almost 2:30 in the morning before he finally gave up on you. I'm not joking, he was.
Oh, he definitely does.
And he kept looking over there at your chair too.
He kept walking by it looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, anyway.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
For those that don't know anything about Lucky, he's my dog.
He's Kurt's best friend.
He's 13 years old, so
he is a fat boy. But he's a man after my own heart. He lays down to eat his food. Like there ain't a fat man in the world that wouldn't love to do that. He's a man after my own heart.
He's got bad hips.
It's because he's the size of a goddamn doghouse.
He's pretty good size. He might be pushing 100 pounds.
He's over 100 pounds, I'm telling you.
He has to be over 100 pounds.
He's way over 100 pounds. That's a 150-pound dog or better.
I don't know about 150.
Oh, dude, you put his big ass on a scale.
They can't get him on one, though.
Well, they can weigh him like they weigh me. They weigh me on the shipping docks at work. They do. My dad tells me to go back there and step on every time.
He's been the best dog ever. I mean, he ain't no certain kind. He's a mixed breed, but
some might call it a mutt. I prefer to call it just luck.
Yeah. He's kind of a unique looking dog. He's all white with 2 brown spots on him.
And he likes to get his butt rubbed. Every man likes to get their butt rubbed.
All right.
I like getting my butt rubbed. Look at him. He knows we're talking about him.
Oh, yeah. He's pretty shrewd for a dog. I mean, on some things he's.
We could do a whole episode on luck.
Yeah, just about. He's
you star of the show right now, ain't you, bud?
Human in some ways. I don't know.
Anyways, we better go. Okay, well, let's pick off here. We're segued to that hour break. Fuck me. Got anything else you want to ask me? I'm sure
I'll think of something here.
Okay, well, what else haven't you asked me?
I don't feel like you did everyone.
I had Lance
Russell.
Dave Brown. I was going to ask you about.
Which one I like better?
Yeah. And I think you answered that earlier.
Yeah.
Lance.
Dave was more popular when I was a kid. Lance was 3 years of study.
Favorite announcers of all time. Would you where's pro wrestling headed? That's what I got so far. I mean, these here were just all off the cuff too. I mean,
what?
I'm trying to help paint a picture for those that don't have a deep connection with the wrestling.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler?
I mean, you don't
Dutch
watch it.
Mantel.
Dirty Dutch. I got my picture taken Dirty Dutch twice. I was a kid in 93, 94. I was 6 or 7. USWA come and did a house show. They did it at Forest Park High School in the old gym.
I went to see one of them too.
I got my picture taken with Dirty Dutch, and then Legends of Wrestling, April 2010, a month before my first training seminar. And it's on my old Facebook. I showed it to you.
Yep.
Got my picture taken with Dutch, and I told him, I said, last time I got my picture taken with me, you put my hat on your head. I said, back then I wasn't that big. I said, believe it or not, the hat was bigger than me. I said, now my butt cheeks are bigger than the hat.
Arn Anderson, another. I mean, I don't know if I got one favorite wrestler.
Arn Anderson's got his own podcast.
Yeah, that's what I
told you. Podcasts dominate my listening nowadays. Arn's got one, comes out every Tuesday. It's just called Arn. And it's got the 4 horsemen, got the sign, the 4 fingers. And to hear this guy, who was another guy that protected the business so much, to see Arn break kayfabe and the stories he talked about, man, that 4 horsemen.
Yeah. They were
the original 4 horsemen. Yep. Ole, Arn, Tully, and Rick.
They guys were bad to the bone.
Arn was so believable too. Yeah. Like he just, my God, when he said he was going to spine buster you and put you through the mat, and he looked like a spine buster is like one of my favorite moves. For those that don't know, you kind of pick a guy off the mat, you got your hands wrapped around both of his legs, on the outside of both of his legs, and you just spin like a 180 and you just plant him back first into the mat. And there's dozens of variations, but nobody hit it like Arn, and just he would explode on these guys, which sounds kind of weird, but I mean, he explode on these guys.
Oh, okay.
He just, explosive nature.
Right. I've just thought of another question, or another.
What's that?
Let's talk about wrestling moves.
Wrestling moves?
Yes. We did the diamond
cutter
earlier. I mean, every wrestler has their thing, it seems like.
My favorite thing has always been the super kick, just because it comes out of nowhere.
I mean, when they just jump off the floor and take both feet.
Yeah.
That's a drop kick, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Drop kick. It's funny to see the big guys. Paul White, who wrestled as the Giant in the Big Show, that son of a bitch was 7 feet tall, 500 pounds. He'd get up on the top rope, jump off with a drop kick. That was an impressive sight to see.
I always like when they sling each other into the ropes.
Wore a size 24 double E boot. Can you imagine that thumping you in the cranium?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I always kind of lean toward it. It seemed like the tag team used more of the throw against the rope momentum type thing. I like that.
Tag team wrestling is such a dead thing nowadays, and that breaks my heart. Like, there's always going to be tag team matches because there's always going to be tag titles, but it's just tag wrestling is not what it used to be back in the day. Now, there's younger guys that have done a lot of good and brought it in. Like 10, 15 years ago, they're still together now. There's a team called the Motor City Machine Guns. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley did a lot of work in TNA. They made it fun. The things the Rockers back in the early 90s, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty used to do.
I like them guys.
Yeah.
The Rockers.
Yeah. I like wrestling.
Yeah. I got to admit.
I mean, you don't get that excited, but yet you've been kind of excited.
Back in the day, I was, like I say, Lance wrestled Dave Brown Sundays after dinner, every Sunday. And they do highlights from all the different places they wrestled.
Remember what year this was or who was involved. I honestly can't even remember if I seen this as a young kid growing up or if just through my years of wrestling research and study and constant tape watching and YouTube. I don't remember who it was. Jerry Lawler was on top booking. For those that don't know, booking is the booker. That is the guy that's basically making the matches. That's the guy that's, running creative. Of course, in a corporation like the WWE, Vince McMahon, everything runs through him.
Right.
But you've got a guy that's the head booker. That's the guy that's in charge of the storylines and the angles and the matches. Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett both running the Memphis territory. They would take turns. One would be in charge 6 months and the other one. Lawler was in charge during his 6-month period. And there was some... I don't remember who the fuck was involved. But the police came down to the Channel 5 studio in Memphis. They were going to take a guy in on a felony assault charge. And they're like, hey, this guy is getting ready to go to the ring. You're not getting in there. You're not going to ruin our TV time. No, we're, Memphis, city police. We're going in there. Well, if you guys go in there right now, we're putting it on camera. No, you're not. Well, this is our TV studio. And if you're going to take him now. So they came. God damn it, I wish I could remember who it was. And if I'd waste time to Google, I could figure it out. But they went on TV to take this guy out on a felony assault charge in real life. Well, this is how quick they are to adaptation in wrestling and adapting to change. The guy who was a heel, he was working as a heel, cut this promo while the cops are putting him in handcuffs, placing him under arrest, and flipped it to make it look like the babyface had this guy arrested. And in turn, they sold a shitload more tickets for the next Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. So it's just...
I think I remember something about that.
Oh, man. I can't... Yeah.
What year were we taking?
Oh, fuck. Well, I mean, it's... I don't remember what year it was.
Early 90s, late 80s. Seems like I remember.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Quick. And there's been things in wrestling like one of the things we're going to do on this upcoming wrestling podcast that I'm starting with these other two guys, and they both live in Illinois. One's in Chicago, and the other one's in South Central Illinois. So, we all kind of grew up in 3 different eras. Like I would say I was like the 90s and 2000s era. This other guy was the 80s. This other guy was the 70s. So they're both workers. And, I hate calling myself a worker. You got to understand, in 2010, I went through a handful of seminars, like I said. And I kept working. I kept getting better.
That leads me to a question after we get done here.
Okay. So we were heading into 2010. In July of 2010 or so, thereabouts, that's when I started at Wapaka Foundry in Tell City. Back then, we were working 12 straight 12s, like I've told you a million times. We got 4 days off a month. The company that I was training with was called MECW, Main Event Championship Wrestling, based out of Evansville. They did a lot of work down in Henderson and Owensboro. They had a show coming up down in Cannleton, Indiana, at the high school gym, Cannleton Bulldogs. And we kept pushing towards, if I felt comfortable enough, this was going to be when I had my first match. Basically, I was just going to go in. I was going to be greener than shit, wrestling term. And that's a real life term. Everybody knows what green means. You're inexperienced. Right. I was going to go in, get the shit kicked out of me, be so happy that I was probably going to, have a broken nose or missing teeth. I was going to count ceiling tiles, count the lights on the ceiling, which is a way of saying I was going to get pinned. And I took that job about a month before, and over $1,000 a week, bring home after taxes and insurance, working all the time.
and I just put the wrestling thing on the back burner.
What was going to be your stage name?
See, you can't ask me that because at the time, I didn't even have.
What do you mean I can't ask you that?
I didn't even have a gimmick lined up or a persona.
Hell, you
I was just happy
in your mind.
Well, at first I was going to call myself Pig because I was short and fat, looked like a little pig, and I was going to go to the ring going oink 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 oink. I don't know. I call myself the peanut butter guy. I don't know.
I mean, you had to have something in mind.
I knew because I'd been putting in all this work. You know, but you got to think though. At that time, I was working for Hank Minke and OFS Brand Style Line, and I was working part time at Home Depot in Jasper. So I was still working 2 jobs, like I am now in real life. You know, right. Working 2 jobs, but I had a lot of time putting these seminars and
blue collar man.
Yeah, thinking, and all I knew at the time was that I wanted to work heel. I always wanted to be a heel. When I would create myself and put it in all the wrestling games as a kid growing up now, I was always a heel because to me, and I hate saying this, to me it's easier to be the bad guy. You have to think about it. When you are playing the babyface role, you have to be careful of the things you do and say.
Right.
But if you are a heel, you can take out all your frustrations at the day. Like if you were traveling working for Vince, work for them guys, if the airline loses your luggage and you're pissed off and you don't freak out in real life, you can get to the ring that night. You could flip out on the fans. You know, you could look at that little family in the front row going, God, if that was my kid, I'd have shoved him back up my vagina. Like, you know, you could be like, oh, you women out there, you can't touch me, especially you fat one sitting right there, like Ric Flair would do all the time. Rick Rude used to come to the ring and say, I look great, I feel even better. I can make a burlap sack look like a cashmere sweater. All the men want to be me, and all the ladies want me, but none of you can have me because you're too fat to be with me. Like, you know, you can take out your frustration. Right. I knew that I wanted to work heel just because I love to be an asshole. I love to be a pompous, arrogant ass. And it was so much easier. You have to work harder to pull off a babyface role. And
oh, yeah.
In the wrestling business, there's terms called bleeding heel and bleeding face. If you bleed heel, you might be a good guy or an in-between guy, but the things you do and say kind of make you lean towards that way. Vice versa, if you're, you know, the things you could make you lean towards it. I bled heel in real life with the things I do and say, so why not incorporate that into my character? Did I have a gimmick in mind? No. I probably should have been doing my homework on that, but I was so happy to be, you know, training. Right. And then, you know, I was, you know, working 2 jobs. So to say what my name was going to be, I probably would have come up with a gimmick name anyways, instead of wrestling under Jared Atkins. One of the names, I like the name The Demon because I was an Undertaker guy, so I had the idea of being the illegitimate son of the Undertaker, being the Undertaker's bastard child, the Demon, but that never came to fruition. But I don't know, that would have been fun.
Well, yeah, that'd be cool.
But I don't even remember where we get on so many sidetracks here. We were talking about something, and then I was talking about me wrestling. Oh, favorite moves and yeah. I just, you know, and gimmicks and.
I mean, I think suplex. You know,
Jake the Snake Roberts did a DDT. Nowadays, guys in the ring use a DDT all the time. Nobody sell. That's another issue that's going on in wrestling. I know how we kind of got there. We were talking about this other wrestling podcast, and one of the things we're going to talk about and cover is just selling. Selling is exactly what it says. You sell the storyline, you sell the character, you sell the moves, and there is so much high-speed, flippity-floppity wrestling nowadays. High spots. Guys want to do high spot after high spot after high spot. Nobody wants to sell anything anymore. Nobody wants to storytell. Like you're talking about moves, DDT. 1987, 1988, Jake Roberts hit a DDT on a guy, which basically he just applies a standing front face lock and just falls to his ass while he drives their face in the mat. He hit the DDT. Guys were on the shelf. They were injured.
Right.
These guys hit a DDT now. They don't even sell a DDT. They'll get right back up after it. They'll take a fucking... Back in the day, a choke slam was, oh my God, this guy's leaving the ring on a stretcher.
You see 3 or 4 choke slams and matches from guys that are bigger guys now. Nobody sells anymore. You get blasted with a chair shot across the back.
Right.
Not the face, but just across the back. You're down on the mat for minutes. Guy gets hit in the back with a chair shot now. In 2 or 3 minutes, he's up like what?
That was a big thing here for a few years, wasn't it? Stuff going on outside the ring.
My favorite weapon of all time in pro wrestling has been and will always be the steel chair. You've got so many foreign objects, or back in the early 90s when WCW, which was owned by Ted Turner, who was the creator and the owner of CNN, so they wanted to be politically correct. So for a while, they were not allowed to call them foreign objects. They called them international objects, which was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Be that as it may, the greatest foreign object of all time has always been the steel chair, or the guy reaches in his tights, lifts up his sack, and pulls out brass knucks.
Scrotum, that is. Man.
Scrotum.
Yeah.
Not safe for work. Brass knucks. Yeah.
I mean, what about the stories of guys razor blades in their boots?
Okay, here
the blood.
I love this. I was so excited when I thought I was going to start my wrestling journey. I was going to blade every match I had. I didn't care. Blood and pro wrestling go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. And it kills me today that there's not that much bloodletting going on in wrestling. Right. Now they have to save it for special when you're a kid, especially in your era, when it was a little more real, whereas my era in the early 90s, it was more cartoonish. You wanted to go to those matches. You wanted to see the big feud in the steel cage. You wanted to see guys get ripped open, buckets and buckets of blood.
Well, I mean, it kind of tells you who's winning, you know?
Certain guys wore the blood better than anybody. Ric Flair. Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, to get himself to bleed like that, he's openly admitted in the past he used to swallow half a bottle or a whole bottle of aspirin and Tylenol and drink like a 12-pack of beer because, alcohol thins the blood.
Right.
So that shit would just run out like water. And, a lot of guys, there's 2 ways to get color in the wrestling business. There's the hard way, where you legitimately, accidentally or on purpose, it don't matter, you accidentally bust the guy open. Or, the razor blade. Now, days that it's got safer in the PG era of wrestling.
I mean, they were clever.
Sometimes there is blood capsules, but
they were clever at hiding these blades and so on and so forth.
Some guys would hide them inside their mouth, which always made me nervous because if you take an accidental elbow, you're going to cut yourself. Right. But most of the time, it's fucking right there in the wrist tape. You cut the end of it off, stick it in the wrist tape, you pull it out after you take a shot, you go ahead, you swipe it, put it on your finger, flick it out on the mat, nobody sees the difference. A referee comes up to check on the guy.
Picks it up.
No, he'll kick it right out with his foot.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know all that stuff. I was kind of wondering.
Nowadays, sometimes they do the blood capsule thing every once in a while, which is cheesy as fuck. Right. And I hate it. Somebody will hand them a blood capsule and they'll crush it and put it on. Or
it's kind of like the equivalent of people going to the NASCAR race to see the pile up.
I realize I'm just giving away the secrets. Like, I hate people that do that. Like, 1980-something, you know who John Stossel is?
I don't know.
Okay, John Stossel. You remember 2020 ABC?
Yeah, okay.
John Stossel was this arrogant, pompous asshole. And if you ever hear this, John Stossel, you can sue me for slander and libel. You are a fucking piece of shit for what you did to the pro wrestling business. And I don't care if you hear this. Please, God, please let you hear this, Stossel. You are a worthless piece of shit. And that is why everybody has done their damnedest to try to out you from, unsuccessfully, I guess, from anything. John Stossel was a reporter for ABC in 2020, and he thought he was doing the world favor because he'd run all these exposés on
companies and consumer products that were lying to the American public. And he would call people out on phony and fictitious bullshit, and he thought he was doing the Lord's work. By the way, for a third time, Stossel, you are a fucking piece of shit. Anyway, so something caught his attention, and he decided to turn his nose up at professional wrestling. Big mistake. So there was a guy in Wrestling Lure, and I think I mentioned this in the bonus episode. For those of you, go check the archive. Shout out Steel Toes and Scoreboards. Go check us out on Google Podcasts, Spotify. We got clips up on YouTube. There was a guy, an old wrestler, who thought he was something when he really wasn't. It was a guy by the name of Eddie Mansfield. Real good-looking, heartthrob type, white meat baby face, blah, 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 blah. He was mad because he thought he was owed some money, and I don't remember what territory he was running in, who he was working for. It was somewhere down south, and promoter owed him some money, and Mansfield was adamant about getting paid, and getting paid more than what he deserved. Which, if you're not drawing any people in, I'm pretty sure the card's stacked, but your name's not one that's bringing anybody in. I mean, you might live your own gimmick, live your own ego. That happens a lot in this sport. But anyways, Mansfield was in an argument with this guy. And this was about the time when John Stossel was getting ready to do his expose on wrestling. And he couldn't find a way in because back then in the 80s, kayfabe was still a thing. Nobody, like I always said, nobody broke kayfabe. So Stossel finds word of trying to get in, and I don't know how the hell to this day I've never put two and two together on how Eddie Mansfield found out that Stossel was looking. I just think it was creative. He called, I believe this day he called ABC. So Mansfield calls John Stossel and says, "Hey, I got a story for you. You're trying to break the secrets about wrestling. Come meet with me." And they set up a ring somewhere. And this reporter, John Stossel, got in the ring, and Mansfield got in there with him, and Mansfield proceeded to reveal the secrets, and the thing they wanted the most was about the blood. And Mansfield sat there on camera, recorded. You can go to YouTube and you can look at it. Pulled the blade out of his wrist tape, did the blade job, just slashed open his forehead right there, and the blood started pouring, and they got it all on tape. So then, right then, Mansfield was pretty much outed out of the wrestling business. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think he ever worked for anybody ever again. This is supposed to be your family. You don't fuck your family. You don't fuck the boys. You don't ruin the secrets that's going to put people out of business and return pro wrestling back to the carnival scene where it started, make it a circus sideshow attraction. You can see how passionate I get about this.
For sure.
So John Stossel decides he's going to be a fair guy, which he's not. Stossel, you're an inconsiderate prick if you hear this. Stossel decides that he's going to give a chance to clear the air and see if this is all bullshit. So he calls Vince McMahon. And God damn it, I'm trying to... This is 86, 87, 88, 89, somewhere in there. If I wasn't still swimming in testicles, I was a couple years out of the hoo-ha, somewhere in that time frame. So somewhere around 86, 88, 89. So Stossel goes up. They're doing a show. I think they're doing it either at Madison Square Garden in New York City, or they're doing it at the old Boston Garden in Boston. I don't remember where. And one of the most ruthless, hardest hitting, stiffest guys. When you work stiff in the wrestling business, you work stiff, you work snug. That means your shit looks real, because sometimes you're accidentally potatoing a guy. Potato means you're making real contact, and it does more than sting. One of the stiffest, snuggest, most intimidating guys out there was a guy by the name of Dr. D, Dave Schultz. Big, tall, muscular, blonde, nasty heel. Everybody hated him. The story goes
And by the way, before I go any further, we talked about this in the bonus episode. There's a great show now for people that don't even like pro wrestling, but you want to understand the craziness of the wrestling business. There's a show on Vice TV called Dark Side of the Ring, and this was an episode featured on that. So for most people that didn't know the story, this would be a great explanation of it. Of course, if you're a wrestling nerd like me, you knew about this long before this episode, Dark Side of the Ring, came out. Vince McMahon, I don't know what the fuck he was. He said, hey, there's a reporter out here asking questions about the wrestling business. Why don't you go talk to him? If you're going to send anybody at that time to talk, you don't send Dave Schultz. So Stossel decides to get cute, and he comes out and asks him, so is it true that wrestling's fake? And Schultz slapped the fuck out of him. On camera. On camera. Hit him so hard with a slap. Stossel claimed thousands of dollars in damage. Says to this day his ears still ring. Said we had a newborn daughter, and when she would cry, the sensitivity from Dave Schultz's smack would hurt my ears, and he sued him for thousands of dollars of damages. And John Stossel, I hate your guts.
What's his name? The guy hit him. Did he ask him, would that feel fake to you at the time?
Yeah, that's what he said to him. That feel fake?
Yeah, that feel fake.
Schultz is like, I just gave him a love tap. Of course, Schultz is 280, 300 pounds, and Stossel's like $140. But you ask stupid questions.
Yeah.
Don't come up to a guy in their line of work and say, wrestling's fake, isn't it? And of course, they ended up getting fired. Well, what made this even funnier was months later, Richard Belzer, for those that know Richard Belzer, probably know Richard Belzer from Law and Order. Belzer kind of asked the same thing on national TV, and Hulk Hogan put him in a sleeper hold and actually choked him unconscious. But Hogan wasn't going to lose his job because he was the golden goose of pro wrestling and Vince's golden child. So, but Dr. Schultz got fired. But, yeah. I just want to say for the 5th time, John Stossel, I hate your guts. If any of you take anything away from this episode, go check out Dark Side of the Ring, the slap heard around the world. Dr. David Schultz slaps John Stossel. John Stossel's a piece of shit. Eddie Mansfield, I hope you get syphilis. You're a piece of crap. So I might stop plugging sponsors. This might get a little too personal here. You're having fun with this, aren't you?
Yeah.
See, I get excited when we do baseball because that's when your passion comes alive. And then I gave you a Steelers episode.
Right.
And I kept telling you were going to give me a wrestling episode, but now I think you're having just as much fun as I am.
Steve Austin or Hulk Hogan.
Okay, here we go. So I touched on this earlier. Are you asking me who I like better or who's the bigger star?
I mean, well, that's the question.
Okay, you're asking me both. So
we do this at work all the time.
Who I like better?
It'd be like Kirby Puckett
Kirby Puckett, or you say you had me at Kirby Puckett.
Right.
We just did an episode on Kirby Puckett.
Yes, absolutely.
My baseball mitt was Kirby Puckett.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, who I like better?
Austin or Hulk Hogan?
Austin. Who's the bigger star? Fuck. The two biggest boom periods in wrestling were both headed by these guys. These two guys put together, nobody sold more pay-per-views, nobody headlined more pay-per-views, nobody sold out more live events, nobody sold more merchandise, nobody sold more tickets. So who was more instrumental to their period? Who was the bigger star overall? You can't have one without the other. I just think for what I grew up in, I believe they say Hogan put wrestling on the map. He did. But Austin took it to nowhere. Without Steve Austin, wrestling would not have had the boom period it had in the 90s. It was all centered around that storyline of the evil boss and the anti-establishment, anti-hero hero. Austin was never supposed to be a good guy. Right. The crowd made him a good guy. What guy? Sorry, Adam, I love you. By the way, our boss just underwent some serious surgery in Cleveland, Ohio. Thursday. Adam, we love you, dog. We know you're going to hear this because you told me you was going to look forward to this wrestling episode. We love you. Adam's going to be on the shelf till about end of October, middle of November. So
Your replacement's doing good work in your absence. Kurt's running the department real good. No, just kidding. Neither one of us would be the first choice to run the department.
No.
But anyways,
it will.
No offense to Adam, but what person does not want to go to work, give their boss the middle finger, say I'm going to kick your ass, throw beer on him, kick him in the balls, hit him with a stone cold stunner, smash his face in with a chair shot? Every red-blooded American in the 90s, especially blue-collar workers, make up this country. It ain't white-collar people.
That's right.
What guy didn't see that on Monday night and want to go to work the next day? You want me to box 300 chairs? Fuck you. Give me a hell yeah stone cold stunner. I mean, so I'm going to say the bigger star was always going to be Austin. But that's me.
Right. All right. Okay. Roddy Piper
or Ric Flair. We talked about this in the bonus 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. episode. People are always going to say Ric Flair is the greatest heel in wrestling. Sorry, hot take. Ric Flair is the second greatest heel. Because without Roddy Piper, there would be no Hulk Hogan. Yeah. You're only as good as your dance partner in the ring. I've said this a million times. And Hogan had a hell of a dance partner in Piper. Piper had a hell of a dance partner in Hogan. That thing with Hulkamania was taken off, but it would not have took off at the speed it took off in 85, a year after Hogan won the belt from the Sheik, 84 in the Garden. That thing wouldn't have took off at the rate it did without Piper being the son of a bitch that he is. Right. I'm not saying Piper made Hulk Hogan. I'm not saying that, but it damn sure looks like he did. Piper's the greatest heel in the wrestling. I can give you a rundown right now in my mind, the top 5 greatest heels in the wrestling business. Number 1, Roddy Piper. Number 2, Ric Flair. Number 3, McMahon, because of Hogan. Yep. Number 4, Ravishing Rick Rude. And
I forgot all about him.
Number 5 is just a toss-up. You can put any guy you want in there. You can put Sergeant Slaughter when he did his heel turn and become the Iraqi sympathizer. You could put all the Horsemen in there.
Right.
I mean, there's all kind of people.
Right. Okay. It's funny you mentioned Iron Sheik. I got Iron Sheik or Dutch Mantel.
Oh, who I like better? Dirty Dutch, man.
Yeah.
You know, we're in such a different time in the world today in 2021. And you know, we don't get political on this show. Sometimes we briefly touch on it. We don't get political, but we're in a serious different time in the world now.
A lot of shit.
Racial injustices rising up. LGBTQ or however you say it. All the respect go to those people. They're having their own injustices they're dealing with sexual whatever. I mean, they're dealing with a lot of drama. And just the world is so different. But 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, Dutch Mantel, this made national headlines on like CNN and Fox News, like a wrestling angle. This was the first wrestling storyline in a long time to get national media coverage. There's a guy named Jake Hager who is a amateur MMA fighter and a pro wrestler. He was wrestling for the WWE at the time as Jack Swagger. He was a 2-time All-American, and he wrestled for Oklahoma State. His manager was Dutch Mantel, and at the time they were doing this angle in 2010 and 2011 where it was coming off very racist and very conservative, like about America first. They had a Hispanic wrestler at the time named Alberto Del Rio. Royal Rumble winner. You seen that? Yeah. Alberto was Hispanic. They didn't like him being Hispanic. They touched on a lot of stuff that you can't do these days. And Dutch was the perfect person to play that role because he had that big Dutch Mantel mustache. He come in wearing SWAT khakis and the sweater vest, and they had the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, and the theme song was just badass. It was just an instrumental. It was just an instrumental, but it was very pro-American. And I'm not saying when you're pro-American you're anti everybody else, but
the way they played this angle, and it made national headlines, you know, and they got some heat for it.
Dutch Mantel.
Dirty Dutch Mantel. But Sheik, the Iron Sheik was cool.
I'll go on record. The hairiest wrestler there was. Sorry, Dutch.
I got a shoot interview filmed in 2000 with Dutch at my house when he was still booking down in Cuba. And he held up the paper. It says, Al Gore demanding another recount. That was about the time it was, so.
That's pretty cool.
Dutch. Dutch. He's a hell of a guy. Wayne Cunis? I can't remember Dutch's last name. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I told Dutch when I met Dutch for the second time a month before I started training, and we had laughed, and I told Dutch about that picture, and he goes, well, put this one beside that one. And Dutch looked at me, and I had lost weight. You got to understand, I'm the only person I ever known to weigh 400 pounds twice. I'm 400 pounds, I lose weight, I gain it back, I've lost it again. I think now I'm about 360. I showed you those pictures here lately, the other week, of how much weight I lost.
Yes.
And right before my marriage started falling apart, in the fall of 2018, I was at my heaviest. And in the fall of 2018, I was probably pushing 470, 480. So right now, I'm about 360. Everybody's like, that's impossible. Well, let me tell you something. When you get to be that goddamn fat, you've got so much skin. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. And then I'm going to lose more, and you're not going to see how much I've lost because I've just got so much excess skin. But anyways, to tell you that, the point made that when I graduated high school, I was like 440 in 06. So by the time 2010 it got rolled around, I started my training seminars and stuff. I was down to like 300, 280, 270, and it kept going. And Dutch looked at me, he said, you're not very tall. He said, but you're wide. He said, you got good bumping shoulders on you, which a wrestling bump, you just take a bump. It's a fall. Dutch goes, you got good bumping shoulders on you. And he said, you ought to bump pretty good for somebody. And anyways, just Dutch is one of the nicest. I got to pick his brain and talk to him at Legends of Wrestling for probably an hour.
Cool.
One of the nicest. The funniest thing was...
He played the heel all the time, didn't he? Kind of a heel.
Dutch goes, Dutch said... A lot of these shoot interviews, no matter who conducts them, they always start the same way. How and why did you get into the wrestling business? And somewhere in the first few minutes, Dutch said, I only went to 2 matches. My first wrestling match, I was a kid. The second wrestling match was mine. He said, I was never really that much of a fan. He said, but, life's funny. He said, I got into it, and now here he is, been in it like 50 fucking years. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm all bored on that Dutch Mantel. Let's see who I got here. Tommy Rich.
Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Or Bill Dundee.
Superstar Bill Dundee.
Yeah.
Wildfire, nothing against Wildfire Tommy Rich. Tommy's had his problems. Honestly,
oops, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that in editing. Thanks, Kurt. That's so bad, dude. You can when I put it in the Audacity, and the wavelength will move.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then when all of a sudden it's going like this means the mic was doing.
I bumped the mic there.
The mic was doing this. Yeah. So I'm always like mirror Kurt 1, mirror Kurt 1.
Billy's the superstar.
Well, yeah, and just
he's talking about Tommy Rich.
I don't know if Tommy's still alive or not. I don't remember. I know I read something about him. I don't remember how long back it was, a year or two. If Tommy's still alive, I think Tommy's not doing that great. I don't know. Tommy had a history. One of my favorites has always been Jamie Dundee, Bill Dundee's boy. Right. PG-13 was my tag team. Guys were so crazy back in the day. Jamie Dundee was like a 6-year-old kid. They got him drunk. Bill Dundee and Tommy Rich. Jamie said his mom was pissed when she came home. She said she ripped Bill's ass from one side of that trailer to the other. They got a 6-year-old kid drunk and they pierced his fucking ear. Oh, Jamie said, I'll never forget. He said, I was 6 years old. He said, I felt funny. I couldn't stand. He said, all I know is these guys were laughing at me. He said, Mom came home and she chewed ass from one end of the house to the other. Got a 6-year-old kid drunk.
That's crazy.
Pierce his ear.
That's crazy.
Wrestlers are different people.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good story.
But Bill Dundee, just the chemistry that him and Jerry Lawler have had.
Oh, yeah.
You know, him and Jerry Lawler have wrestled. It's thousands. They think over 1,000 times.
I'll almost put Lawler with Dundee, but
if I pick between Lawler and Dundee, it'd still probably be Lawler. Yeah, it'd be Lawler. Watching him and Bill Dundee work, they had such good chemistry. Like I said, you're only as good as your dancing partner.
Right.
And with those two guys, they never had a better dancing partner with anybody but each other. Ooh.
The Rock or Triple H?
I like watching both these guys work. The Rock was born to be an entertainer. You know, and maybe if he would have stuck around longer, you know, by 2004 was pretty much the end. 2003, arguably. 2004, he came back for WrestleMania 20, but arguably, The Rock was pretty much done full-time by 04. If he would have stuck around longer instead of making sporadic appearances here or there, it may be a him. But for me, I've never seen a guy with more dedication to this than what Triple H has. Like you know, he did this whole shtick. I love saying the word shtick. He did this whole shtick in like 99 or 2000, like, I am the game. I eat, sleep, breathe, live this business. Da-da-da. The whole works. It was a badass promo, but it was real. Like, this guy's a student, and, I mean, he married Vince's daughter. A lot of people in the IWC, which stands for the Internet Wrestling Community, is a bunch of people like me that are referred to as smart marks. The key word being marks. A mark mean you'll believe anything. Smart people just put smart behind it because they think they're smarter than the wrestling bit. And nobody ever wants to refer to themselves as a smart mark, but I guess if you want to call me one, call me one. But like the IWC is full of people wishing Vince would hand the reins over to Triple H and Stephanie. I don't know. Triple H is he's done a lot. They rebranded this whole NXT thing the last 9 years, and especially the last 7 years. It's really took over, and it's a lot of great talent that's come up through. But then they've got this new right hand man to Vince, this Nick Khan guy that's fucking everything up. So I don't know, as far as watching him work and their entertainment, Triple H, like, I'll never forget, Triple H really got his singles push in 99. So I was 11 going on 12. I would have turned 12 the summer of 99. So the spring of 99, I was still 11. WrestleMania 15, Triple H did a heel turn, broke up DX, joined the corporation, and he went on a singles push. And I remember it was so cool. I used to hide from my dad that I was a Triple H fan, and my mom. And then he was wrestling The Rock one night. I was like, come on, Triple H. And my dad, the hell you rooting for him for? He's a son of a bitch. My mom goes, yeah, look at that big nose bastard. He's a son of a bitch. And I was rooting for him, you know. And I was like, I can't help it. He's cool. Like, his job as a heel is to make us hate. But the more badass you are, which always spoke, the more I'm going to... Triple H was cool.
Since we had the 5 greatest heels, well, we got to have the
5 greatest baby faces of all time.
Yes.
As I take a sip of my Gatorade, I'm gonna have to pawn this. Okay, well, if I had to pick 5 of the best baby faces of all time.
Remember, this is a little tougher.
Number 1's got to be Hogan.
Yeah.
And then number 2, you put Austin. 3, 4, and 5. Anybody you want to put in there? Sting.
Right.
You could throw Sting in there. You could throw
Ultimate Warrior, maybe.
I'm going to put him down. Bret or Shawn. Undertaker was face most of his career. I mean, he had a couple heel turns here and there, but mostly he was a baby face. What CM Punk did the last handful of years he was in WWE and what he's doing now in AEW, and I'm a huge CM Punk mark. Like, 2005 was 05-06 was my senior year of high school. Back at that time in 05, the WWE's training grounds was Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW. They ran a lot of shit in Louisville. They came to Crawford County High School up in Marengo. And they came the day after my birthday. So my best friend at the time, Adam, said, we're going to go watch wrestling. So here you got a bunch of 18-year-old kids driving, not like we was driving to a big city like Alfordsville, We was driving up there. We sat front row. I think tickets were $10 at the door at Crawford County High School. CM Punk jerked the curtain that night. Jerk the curtain means the first match on the card for all you non-wrestling fans out there. So CM Punk jerked the curtain, and they were coming out this way, like where you're sitting. They were coming out this way, and we were in the front row. And CM Punk got in the ring, and he threw his ring jacket out to the crowd, and I went to grab it. He said, "You touch my jacket, you fat little cupcake, I'm going to break your fingers."
No.
And then, of course, I was excited because, like I said, this is 05, and I first found out about CM Punk like 2 years before. So I was all excited because when they're in OVW, they're going to the big time, So, anyways, it might have been September. I thought it was August. It might have been September. The reason I say that is because I think August of 05 is when he signed his contract. Of course, he had to go through developmental for a while, but CM Punk's a babyface. John Cena. People in the IWC have begged for years for Cena to do a heel turn. Wish he never did. Savage, you could say briefly his face run.
Macho Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys. I love how you've been writing shit. We're just it's almost like you're interviewing.
Well, I kind of am. I got one more for you.
Okay, one more than I got.
Macho Man and $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Who do I like better? Macho Man.
Yeah, right on.
Ted DiBiase had probably arguably the other greatest gimmick in wrestling. I'm always going to consider the Undertaker gimmick the best, but Ted DiBiase, you could argue maybe not a top 5 heel, but a top 10 heel.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a gimmick. Like there's a clip out there. I don't know if you know this. You might remember this, but for those of you, for the non-wrestling people listening, go to YouTube and type up Ted $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, or just type $1 Million Man because some people can't spell DiBiase. Just type $1 Million Man basketball. There was a taping in 88, 89, 90 at one of their syndicated shows. There's this little colored boy comes out of the crowd, and Ted gives him a basketball and says if he can dribble the basketball 10 times, he'll give him like $100 or $1,000, whatever it was. And this was during a point where Ted was doing a lot of gimmicks where he was making people do stuff for money to prove that everybody has a price for it. Everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Right.
So you probably realized at the time, I didn't, because like this was a couple years after I got into wrestling, so I had to see this all through tapes and posterity, all. Right. So you probably knew something was up, but you didn't think he's going to fuck with a little kid with a basketball. And this fun, and I'll tell you a funny story about this in a second. It's funny I'm bringing this up because something about this just happened a couple of weeks ago. Anyways, this cute little colored boy, he just, he starts dribbling this ball, and they're counting, and he gets to number 9, and Ted kicks the fucking basketball into the audience.
No.
And he's like, when you don't do the job right, you don't get paid. Run on back to your mother, little boy. And they show this little kid crying as he's going back to the barricade. And I'm always wondering to this day, I'm like, did they bring that kid backstage and give him tickets or something? Because this is like a 5-year-old kid. You broke his meet and greet or something. Like, because you've got to have him get his heat. At wrestling, get his heat means he's got to do his bad shit to get the people to hate. He's got to get his heat. So he kicked the basketball.
That would make people hate him for sure.
Yeah, so, but I'm like, they had to bring that family backstage for meet and greets and tickets or something. But funny story, Ted posted on his social media about a month ago that he wants to find the boy now, which the boy now is my age or a couple years older, because he wants him to come in and do another meet and greet, and he's going to give him an autographed basketball and like $1,000 donation to a charity of his choice. And so
that's cool.
But he's just like, they're like, this kid's going to do 8, 9, and then kicks the ball.
No.
When you don't do the job right, you don't get paid.
See, what was his manager's name? It was a chick.
Ted DiBiase?
Yeah, didn't he have...
He had Virgil, his little sidekick.
I was thinking he had a woman.
I don't know if Sensational Sherry ran around with him or not.
It was.
She ran around with Savage. I can't remember. See, I told you I don't forget everything, but some things.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth was with Savage.
Savage, that's right.
Elizabeth, I love you.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty good. Do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Are you having...
Macho man.
Are you having fun?
Oh, yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can keep going. You want to keep going a little bit?
Well, okay, keep going a little bit.
Okay,
I might think of something else here yet. I mean, I was going to do a word association with you.
Oh, fuck it. Fire it up. I'll do a million word association.
I'm trying to think of good, you know.
Did you take a look at the Ric Flair stuff I sent you, the promos?
The promos I did, yeah.
The clip I sent you in particular was like 4 hours worth of Ric Flair promos.
Yeah. I didn't make it through all of it. But
sadly, I did, folks. And that's not the first time I've ever watched it either.
He was very flamboyant.
I said this in our 2 a.m. bonus episode. Check it out in the Steel Toes and Scoreboards archives. If you want a good time, you want high-quality entertainment, Google Ric Flair 1980 promos on YouTube. You will be amazed at the things you find. He was so animated.
Yeah.
He was so over the top. I mean, it was hilarious.
Do you think it was scripted, or do you think he was...
That was really Ric Flair in real life.
Right off the cuff, wasn't it?
Okay, you really want to get me fired up, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the problem with wrestling today, okay? Especially in the WWE. A lot of those promos are written for guys now.
Right.
Back in 1980, Slick Rick didn't need anybody writing his promos.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And that's why wrestling, some of the ratings are in the fucking tank right now, because you're taking a script for a guy that you don't know who it is, and you're making him go out and memorize this garbage. Let me tell you something about wrestling. It
flows freely from the cuff, doesn't it? For Ric Flair.
Let me tell you something about wrestling. And you can apply this in anything in life. If you're selling a product, if you don't believe that product, are you going to buy it?
No.
If somebody comes on TV and is trying to sell you a vacuum cleaner, but you don't buy their pitch,
you're not going to buy it.
You're going to buy a different vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay, some of these guys are coming out with these promos that are scripted to them from writer. I'll tell you a story right now that I brought up to Adam a few weeks back. Vince is not responsible for everything bad going on with World Wrestling Entertainment right now. Okay? There's a lot of shit that doesn't get to Vince. Other people handle it. Ultimately, when it comes to everything on TV, Vince has final say. He's 80-something years old, 70-something years old. It's still his business. But some of the other shit, like they're hiring writers now. Writers. They write the show. There really is writers nowadays that are writing the scripts. They write the show. They had a young girl fired. She got fired. And I shared this on my Facebook a few months ago, and I have to go back and find it. And I don't remember the name. If you people want to fact check it, just Google WWE writer fired for what she leaked on a podcast. She went on a podcast and talked about she's working for WWE. She's writing now. And she mispronounced the character's name she wrote. She goes, his name's Bobby Ashley or Bobby Asby or something. His name's Lashley. He was their reigning world champion.
Oh.
She didn't know who the fuck he was, but she was writing for him.
They can't be good for...
What kind of business PR does that send? So they shit-canned her, which should have happened.
Right.
But that's the thing. These guys are writing these fucking... reciting these garbage promos. And you know, when wrestling was in the boom period in the 90s, do you think Stone Cold or The Rock or Triple H was given a script or a site?
No.
The writing crew then might have said, hey, cover point A and cover point B.
Right.
How you get there is on you.
Right.
And nowadays, these guys get out there, they forget what they're going to say because you want them to memorize 15 pages of junk that don't sell tickets anyways.
It's got to flow from the cuff.
Yeah, wrestling fans are the most fickle entertainment fans in the world. If they don't believe that you believe it, if they don't believe it's real from you,
it's not going to sell.
It's not going to sell. Now you look at what they're doing in the other promotions right now, which I know you're not, and that's fine. It feels more real there. The whole point being, in 1980, goddamn it, Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen didn't need a script. Same thing might apply. They might have said, hey, maybe you ought to talk about this, but whatever else you want to get there, get there.
I mean, I think it's why I kind of lost contact with the wrestling.
Because you weren't feeling it anymore.
It was too scripted, maybe, a little bit. I mean, too much.
Too much, though.
Yes. I mean, and I kind of...
A little bit, fine. Too much is never a good thing.
What's it going to take? I ain't saying I'm not going to be a pro wrestling fan ever again. I could be, but it's going to take something.
Like seeing a fucking guy half dressed as a clown in a nursery rhyme thing.
Yeah, some gimmick. I mean, I don't...
Was that not cool and creepy?
It was very creepy.
His Bray Wyatt's first appearance as the Fiend was... So he came back in April of 2019. So they pushed this thing for 4 months. And SummerSlam 2019, he came back and wrestled as the Fiend the first time. He comes out to the ring. It's all dark. He's dressed in that Tom Savini creepy clown mask, the leather coat. He's carrying a lantern to the ring, which is what he did with his Southern Baptist preacher thing. But the lantern was his severed head of what he used to look like before he changed his look. The mouth's wide open, the eyes are like, and it's just a lantern. And it drew so much controversy that they edited it out later on in later replays. It's cool as shit, though.
Why would they edit it out?
I don't know. People were like, you can't be walking around with a severed head. I mean, it's 2019. 2009, that shit would have flew.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's going to take some sort of a pitch.
It's going to take me getting on TV. It's going to take me and you to call. We're going to call Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson down in Miami.
There you go.
Be like, look, you got the money. I'll take the book. And we'll and you know, that's another thing we was getting and I get so sidetracked with wrestling. It's like me on YouTube. Me on YouTube is going down the rabbit hole because one video leads to I'll be looking at 1976 Camaros, and then I'll be looking at something that happened in 1996, and then it'll lead me to something. Then I get on 9/11 stuff. It just wrestling leads me down a wormhole. One of the things we're going to be doing on this wrestling podcast is we're going to be rebooking certain storylines in wrestling history. Because you want to talk about opportunities in wrestling that's been blown, or matches that's been blown, and just, you know, like a blown save.
Right,
you know?
Right.
I got some stories I could tell you. Like angles that have been botched, how to rebook them, and if I'd be a booker, I'd get you back in wrestling. I'd have like not necessarily saying there'd be no more bowl of pudding matches or some shit. The divas. That's another thing about wrestling that I love now. When I was a kid, growing up, you had very few women wrestlers.
Right. Me too.
Then the Attitude Era, when I was in middle school and junior high, the women got a little more physical. Now in the last 8 or 9 years, women's wrestling has went through a revolution. 2 years ago, WrestleMania 35, MetLife Stadium, where the Jets and the Giants play, New York City, sold out. WrestleMania 35 was a main evented by women, first time ever. They closed WrestleMania with a main event, triple threat match for both women's titles. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. That was big time. 2018 or 2019, they had the first ever all-women's pay-per-view called Evolution. Big time. Back then, they were called divas. They'd have bra and panty matches. Sorry for any women listening. It's not sexist. This is just where wrestling was and where the world was at that time. The only way to win the match was to strip your opponent down to a bra and panties. I loved it.
Well,
I mean, if we're being honest, it sold tickets.
Yeah.
They don't do that so much nowadays. They're actually putting on competitive matches. Things are different in the indie promotions and other shows. You don't see a lot of women getting color. Getting color means blading, busting open, bleeding. Sometimes accidents happen in the ring. You will get busted open, but as far as blade jobs, don't happen very often. In other promotions, you'll see it. A bleeding woman, bleeds naturally to thoughts of domestic violence or something like that. So they try to avoid that, but like we're in the middle of a revolution in wrestling right now, and women wrestling, that's pretty impressive.
I haven't seen.
I'm telling you, some of these women, if you watch, some of these women can wrestle better than the guys.
Right.
I mean, it ain't all just TNA anymore,
Right.
And I don't mean total nonstop action. I mean, boobs and butts.
Yes. There's good-looking women on there. See, I had something else I was going to ask you.
Greatest match I ever seen? That's a tough one. The greatest match I ever seen as far as like promotion of it and like build up, 2001 WrestleMania 17, April 1st, 2001, Reliant Astrodome, Houston, Texas. 67,925 people. Austin versus Rock, main event, no disqualification, WWF title. And I'll never forget that. That to me, a lot of people consider that to be one of the top 3 WrestleManias of all time. I consider that to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. That's the one that it blew. That's the one when Adam first started being like, "You're so stupid," because he said, "There's no way there was that many people." I said, "Google it, bud." He said April 1st, 2000. He said 67,920. He said, "I hate you." But Austin versus Rock, the video package put together, the promotion bill for that. They used Limp Bizkit's "My Way." Greatest video package ever. If you're not a wrestling fan and you watch that, you would get hooked. Like, oh fuck, I got to see what happens next.
Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit. Fred Durst.
I don't think I would name my band Limp anything, but okay.
I'll give you that one. It's my way or the highway.
I got a couple of tunes.
Yeah. That was good. As far as an actual wrestling match, SummerSlam 92. So I would have been 5. And I don't really remember this match at 5. I remember it more a few years later, about the time I was 8. So you're looking at about 95. So August 92, SummerSlam, Wembley Stadium, 80,155 or maybe 81,000, something there. Main event, Intercontinental title, brother-in-law versus brother-in-law, Bret Hart versus British Bulldog. Bulldog beats him. Sunset flip reversal, pins him 1, 2, 3. Bret had to carry Davey through that whole match because Davey had went out and smoked crack the night before. And they had laid this match out for weeks, start to finish, what they were going to do. They laid it all out on a yellow legal pad, like what I got on my desk. And Davey went out and smoked crack the night before the match, forgot everything. Bret had to carry him through the whole match.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Don't smoke crack.
Don't smoke crack. PSA from Kurt. Don't smoke crack. I mean,
I forgot all about the
you
British
wouldn't
Bulldog.
believe the drugs that were in the locker rooms in the 80s.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the early 90s. Now they've cut down on all that stuff. They're drug testing. Guys get...
I'm sure cocaine was a big...
Oh, yeah. Vince piss tests his guys like every quarter. So, I mean...
So that's changed.
Oh, yeah. That's big time. And they've changed. Things change, too. Like concussions. You know how many times these guys used to go to the ring with their fucking bell rung every night?
I'm sure.
Their brain just swelling from trauma. Nowadays, they get a concussion. They pull them out of action for months. Bryan Danielson, who wrestled as Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson was a guy I watched for years, working for Ring of Honor.
He had concussions so bad they shelved his career. He didn't wrestle for like 2 or 3 years.
I mean, a head slam to the turnbuckle.
I think
but
I think chair shots.
Yeah.
You ask a lot of the guys in the wrestling business, a chair shot used to be a badge of honor. You would take that. You wanted to take that. It was a badge of honor. Now they don't allow a lot of chair shots, and these aren't gimmick chairs. I mean, they're actual metal folding chairs. You don't gimmick those. So
that would have definitely hurt.
And I think a lot of that's what changed. Like, to me, wrestling was at its best when it was like rated TV 14, and then the murder-suicide of the Benoit family in 2007. Chris Benoit murders his wife, murders his child, and then commits suicide. I guess at the autopsy, his brain was that of an 80-year-old mental patient. Like, all the trauma and everything, steroids, and they changed their image, went more family-friendly after that, and they outlawed a bunch of headshots, and now they concussion. So they're doing a lot to protect guys. I think to protect their ass too. What happened with Benoit was a bad deal.
Yeah, for sure.
He's kind of been blackballed in wrestling now, which sucks. The guy's legacy of what he did as an athlete is now overshadowed by this tragedy.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't himself, I'm sure.
Yeah, they said he. I don't remember if he strangled her or smothered his child, and then I guess their bodies laid in the house for a couple days while he was still there before he finally offed himself. He hung himself with a weight bench in his basement. Snapped his neck. He had enough wherewithal, I guess, to place Bibles beside each of their bodies.
Who knows what was going on in his mind?
There's conspiracy theorists out there that it wasn't him, that it was a murder of another wrestler who was Benoit's wife's ex, and a guy by the name of Kevin Sullivan. But I've always maintained Kevin Sullivan's too much of a fucking idiot to pull off a murder-suicide, because he's not the smartest guy in the world, but that's just me. So
now, what do you think about Brock Lesnar, UFC or pro wrestling? I mean, I know which
Brock wouldn't be in UFC without wrestling.
Right.
Pro wrestling's what made him his money to start with. And then his UFC. He's a bad son of a bitch, dude. Yeah. He's a tough guy, legitimate tough guy. And I grew up watching him when I was wrestling in high school and junior high, wanting to be like him, because here's this dude, a heavyweight, that's winning national titles for the NCAA, for the shout out Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy that goddamn big be that quick and that strong. And then he leaves wrestling, and I'm like, well, that sucks.
Well, I mean, I was kind of excited to see him go to UFC.
And then he goes to UFC.
And Alistair Overeem just whipped his ass.
His last fight, Alistair hit him in the gut.
Cain Velasquez.
Oh, man, Cain Velasquez.
He didn't never adapt to the striking game, which...
Of course, then again, if I had Brock Lesnar on top of me beating the shit out of me, I would probably tap out too.
Right. Man, I wanted to see him. I like the wrestling part of his game, game. I just would like to see him stick it out a little more in the UFC, but he couldn't strike. He struggled with his striking, I think. And nowadays you got to be a mixed martial artist, kind of. You got to know a lot of different things.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, he's pro wrestling made him his money, right?
That's where he started. Right, I mean, and then it took off from there.
Yeah, what a beast.
He was a beast. He's a mean son of a bitch.
When I think, remember the old Tekken game?
I remember Tekken.
Jack?
Yep.
That's kind of who he reminded me of a little bit for some reason.
Fuck it. Why not? I'll give you that one.
I mean, did he kind of look like him?
Kind of.
Yeah. I like Brock Lesnar.
You know what I should have put in for this episode? A woo button.
Woo! Yes, and Nature Boy.
We could do a whole episode on Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Just, God, man. Like, I get excited thinking about him.
I didn't like him at first, but now they're here later on, I don't know, I kind of liked him.
You know, so I told the story briefly in last week's episode 2 weeks ago when we was picking topics about the Starrcade 83 robe and the swatch and the plaque, which I brought it here. It's here at your house. I showed you his robes. His robes were thousands of dollars that he paid for out of his own pocket. He had dozens of them, and he was the person you've seen on camera.
Is
a lot of the time is the person that was off camera. The stories about him and his penchant for beautiful women and liquor, that's all true. Hey, Dole, brothels, right? Yeah. Ric Flair could fund a brothel. Just they were out at a bar one night back in the old WCW days, and Jim Ross was still working for Ted Turner and World Championship Wrestling. Him and Rick went to the bar, and Rick was just begging somebody to go with him, and I guess everybody that usually ran the bar scene, everybody had shit to do, or they were going to take a night off because nobody could drink all day long like Ric Flair. And JR went and said, we have a few quiet ones, and I think they were there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and next thing you know, Flair's on top of the pool table strutting around, nothing but his socks and his underwear, and I would have loved to have partied with Ric Flair.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd been a good time.
There's a story in pro wrestling lore, and it's coming up this season as season 3 of Dark Side of the Ring is airing on Vice. There's an infamous story in pro wrestling lore called the Plane Ride from Hell, which was about a private chartered plane that the WWF used in 2002, I think it was, for a tour over in the United Kingdom back to the United States, and all kind of ungodly shenanigans took place on that plane. Like 5 people lost their jobs. The story goes Ric Flair came out of the bathroom wearing nothing but his robe, his wrestling robe, and everything's out there for God and everybody to see, and he's just strutting down the aisle. And there were sexual harassment charges filed against people, and Dusty Rhodes, his son, Dustin, who wrestled as Goldust, was going through a divorce with his wife. He commandeered the plane's PA system and was professing his love to his soon-to-be ex-wife, who was still working for the company at the time. She was on the flight. One guy got his ponytail cut off. Another guy got his eyebrows shaved. Just all kinds of shenanigans. Brock Lesnar got into a fight with somebody in the aisleway. They went near the side door. People thought that, the plane was getting depressed. The cabin was being depressurized. All sorts of shenanigans.
Damn it. That's crazy.
You ought to Google that sometime. WWE Plane Ride from Hell.
I'll check it out for sure.
Wrestlers party hard, man.
Ric Flair, how much money do you think he made?
Ric Flair's made millions of dollars. How much money has he got left?
Well, how much has he made the WW or whatever? I mean, he made the guys a ton of money too, didn't he?
WCW. WWE, they were already making money hand over fence. Right. Ric Flair is a license to print money wherever he goes. Right. This guy, and you think I'm lying to you. This is me, the wrestling guru. This motherfucker says, and I believe it, he never wore a pair of jeans in his life till he retired from wrestling. He was always dressed in a suit. Oh, yeah. Always. He played every bit of the part.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you talk about guys living their gimmick outside of the ring. He did. He's also a huge dipper, by the way. Smokeless tobacco. Yeah. Ric Flair's a dipper.
Didn't know that.
Did not know. I didn't either until I watched him do an entire 4 or 5 hour shoot with RF video. You got my line. No, I got my line.
You got it.
Huge dipper, like the lid candy.
I didn't figure I figured they'd probably frown upon that.
They frown on a lot of shit.
All right.
Who's the scariest wrestler you've ever seen?
Undertaker.
Love it.
I mean, seriously, yeah.
The impact this guy had on my life. like the impact wrestling had in general. Like, do you want to know how serious this runs with me? I'll walk through Walmart, see somebody bent over looking at something on a shelf. You know, I'll look to the left of them and be like, this would be a perfect plant for like a running knee lift to the face. Or I see him bent over looking at something like, oh, right up behind him, rear naked choke, reverse DDT, body slam, suplex, jumping off. Like, I constantly think about how I could use pro wrestling moves on these sad, unsuspecting people.
I was always partial to the diamond cutter for some reason. I don't know.
You know, the best finishing moves, you was asking me about earlier, the best finishing moves are ones that can be hit at any time from any angle. Where you ain't got that way if you got a guy that's 175 pounds like Rey Mysterio, or you got a guy that's 500 pounds like Andre, and you can use the same move on both of them. Stone Cold Stunner, super kick, diamond cutter, RKO out of nowhere.
When they climb up on a rope and they fly off of it and land on a guy, I always thought that was pretty cool.
Eddie Guerrero used to do that. The frog splash.
I mean,
beautiful.
That had to hurt, didn't it? I mean, actually.
Well, yeah, because I mean they're 2x10s. That's what they are.
Yeah.
They're 2x10s or 2x12s, 16 feet long.
And what's covering it? Just a little thin.
A tarp.
Canvas.
It's simply a tarp. It's essentially a tarp.
Like a canvas type.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the old Converse shoes were made out of type.
Kinda.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't feel very good.
You know, the hardest I've ever been hit in my life, the very first training seminar, I was working with another roly-poly like myself. Tracy was over here. Again, rest in peace, Tracy Smothers. Tracy was over here. Washington, Indiana, Davis County, Indiana's own Chase Stevens was over here. And this guy said something. I shot him off into the ropes, and he came back. And I guess I misinterpreted. Well, he plowed into me, and I wasn't expecting it. So I took an actual bump. Like, I didn't plan on taking the bump, but he knocked me off. And it happened so fast, I didn't have time to tuck my chin in. I'm breaking kayfabe, telling secrets. But my head slammed off the mat, and I had no way to protect myself. And goddamn, I was seeing stars. And I remember Tracy goes, "Hey, Biggin, that's a TV bump. You got to save that for when the cameras are rolling now. That's a TV bump. You can't be taking that. Come on, Biggin, get up." Goddamn, Tracy, I can't. Tracy goes, "Well, what do you see?" I said, 4 of you. And I was sitting here like this, and just, man, my head hurt for like 2 hours.
That I always kind of dug it. That kind of, the throwing of the ropes and the momentum moves and stuff are pretty cool too.
And I never knew that, and I felt like such an idiot. I never knew they were hitting that with their latimus muscle. And I'm telling you what, so many times of running the ropes and hitting the cables and everything, and my whole side, my big fat man titties all the way down, was just bruised, and I was pissing blood for a couple of days. Man, it just...
Illegal moves in the ring, like the eye rake.
It's just fun.
Ric Flair.
That's not real.
He he used that all the time. Seemed like
kick to the groin.
Kick to the groin, yeah.
Not real. Sometimes.
Boot to the neck or what have you. Was that legal? I don't think it was legal.
In wrestling, there's proper etiquette that you take to take care of the boys. Like, have you ever noticed a lot of wrestlers don't have armpit hair? You ever notice that?
Yeah.
You know why that is?
No.
Because if you got a guy in a headlock, the last thing they want is their face buried in your sweaty armpit hair.
Yeah.
So they would shave their pits.
That makes sense.
Well, years ago, back in the 80s, some wrestler, a rookie coming into the territory thinking he was going to make a name for himself, not letting anybody haze it, because wrestling's a lot like college. There's a lot of hazing with the new guys. Not so much nowadays, but back then. So this guy thought he was going to pull a prank on Jerry Lawler, and, he was going to stand up, "Hey, I'm the new guy, you're not going to get me." So they informed him about wrestling etiquette. God, if I Google it, I'd find out. I don't remember who it was. But Lawler said he had a secret compound that was painless for getting rid of hair. It was super glue.
Oh, no.
So he made this, lathered it up on this guy and said, keep your arm like this for 5 minutes and we'll come back and we'll just fall right out. Super glued.
Oh, no.
Tons of super glue. Said this guy, you could hear him screaming out in the arena every time he was lifting his arm, pulled up.
Dude, that's fucked up.
Well, and they would do all sorts of stuff. Like
that would hurt.
There were
How would you get out of that anyway?
I don't fucking know.
That seemed like you probably ripped his skin.
It's funny to think about, though, ain't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what
they do all sorts of hazing. Guys would literally defecate into people's ring bags. That pissed somebody off.
Yeah, that's kind of over the top.
I mean,
there.
you know, but
what are they? A bunch of monkeys flinging poop around or what? That there would piss me off.
The wrestling business, man, it's weird.
Definitely entertaining. Yeah. Should we? By the time to plug another one.
Want to plug another one? Let's plug one more for right now. We're gonna shout out our favorite woman, Nana's Aromas LLC. Check her out on Facebook or nanasaromas.com. Located in beautiful Palmyra, Indiana, in Harrison County.
Yeah, it's beautiful country.
Yes, it is. Like I said, right now due to COVID and her schedule, her store is by appointment only. But if you call her, you can give her an appointment set up. Of course, she does sell ships to all over the U.S. She sent us a free candle, which I kept telling her she didn't have to, but it was blueberry, which I should have brought that again tonight. Nana, we love you. Beautiful candle, blueberry cheesecake.
Awesome.
Yeah, everything is done by her, start to finish, including the labels. But she does more than candles. There's warmers, wax melts, air fresheners, and the coolest thing, I say it every time, because it's smart. It's smart business. She does everything in small batches so she can have better quality control.
Yeah.
Everything's hand wicked. Please give her a call. I'm a candle freak. I'm a candle fiend. Give her a call at 812-972-3670. Again, 812-972-3670. She will ship all over the U.S. She's a hardworking widow lady. Lost her husband due to COVID last year, and she's taken on another full-time job now to make ends meet, so she still has the candle business. But her stuff speaks for itself.
Yeah, that thing smelled awesome, man.
And she has dozens of candles. She's a sweet lady. She's given us a lot of opportunity to plug her and kind of get some looks our way, and she sent us a free candle. So we love you, Nana.
Yeah, absolutely.
So little applause for Nana. Yes. All right, son, now what? Is this where I just start talking again?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the greatest wrestling match you remember watching?
Me?
Yeah, that you can remember. I go
back.
If you got to pick one,
I go back to the Lawler Dundee matches. And
that was such a great time too, because a lot of those were loser leave town matches, which is back in the territory. So, okay, Dundee loses to Lawler, so they leave town. So now they're going to work for Bill Watts down in Mid-South. Then 2 years later, they go work for Ron Fuller down in Continental, down in Alabama. 2 more years go by. They've been gone 6 years or whatever. So now they're going up north, and now they're going back to Memphis, going to work for Lawler again and start making the horn. That was what was the territory era of wrestling.
I mean, it's my earliest memories, and some of the great matches. I've seen them fight several times and wrestle.
I love the Moondogs. You remember the Moondogs?
Yeah.
Rex and Spot.
Yes.
I had my picture taken with them when I was a little feller too, or a young feller.
2 monsters.
Yeah.
Their gimmick was gnawing on the bone.
Gnawing on the bone. That's right. Rex and Spot, the Moondogs. They come out with
this. They didn't have no dialect. They just grunted.
I know.
It went over.
It got over.
Yeah.
Got over.
Yeah. Come out in bib overalls or something. No.
Yeah.
It was bib.
Some of them. Sometimes they were just wrestling in a pair of jeans.
And they had hairdos like Twisted Sister, Dee Snider.
We're not gonna take it.
Yeah, I mean, they were.
Oh no, we ain't gonna take it.
Yes, the Moondogs. I like the Moondogs. What, the sheep herders?
The bushwhackers.
The bushwhackers.
Or the sheep herders, as you call them. That's what they used to be known.
Yeah, the bushwhackers.
Luke and Butch, the bushwhackers.
Yeah.
Camouflage pants and gray tank tops.
Yeah. Jimmy Hart.
Mouth of the South.
Yes. I mean, I'm trying to... Bobby
the Brain Heenan. Well, it's picking up on the mic.
I mean, Tojo Yamamoto.
You always talk about Tojo. Man, he was an intimidating son of a bitch.
He was a villain. He was a heel.
The Japanese.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
He wasn't really Japanese either.
Well,
a lot of these guys weren't where they say.
Right.
Sabu's from Bombay, India, but he's really from Michigan. I don't remember what show this was, and it was something I'd seen. The announcer accidentally said, "From Bombay, Michigan," and Sabu's like, "I'll fucking kill you." You could see him mouth the words, "I'll fucking kill you." So,
wrestling.
I am so happy we've done a wrestling episode.
You know, from the 70s to now, there's been a lot of roller coaster, right?
Yeah, business goes in spurts. It always has. It always will. It goes in cycles.
Probably the same way.
You know, I think where we're at right now with what's going on, I think we're fixing to hit another boom period. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not.
Right.
I know that I am super excited for what's coming. This is a hell of a time to be a fan of pro wrestling. You know what, dude? Speaking of that,
I might check out some of these women wrestlers too.
And you know, it's not sexist. Like, they're beautiful women, but what they're doing now is different than anything they've done before. Like, it's cool. I want to see this thing. I wanted to show you this thing if I can find it, and of course I can't find it. So, okay, it was something wrestling related, but it's not important. I had a whole bunch of Ric Flair stuff I downloaded I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, here it is. This is Ric Flair's best robe. This one was his most expensive. It wasn't the Starrcade 83 robe. This is his famous peacock robe, and maybe I'll put this up on our Facebook page.
There you go.
This was the yellow peacock robe in '77. He let Blackjack Mulligan tear that robe up, shred it on TV, which he's like, I wish I never would have done that.
77, he was wrestling. I mean,
he used to be. See, Ric Flair had a plane crash in '75, survived, broke his back and everything. He was a heavyweight back then. He was 300 pounds. He was an amateur bodybuilder. You Google Ric Flair old pre-plane crash, like, he was a big wrestler. Then he got in shape, the bleach blonde hair, and there's a cool story about this title belt. Maybe I'll tell us later or whatnot. Or I guess I could tell it now.
One of the promos he sent me that he talked specifically about his belt. Nice looking belt.
So in 1991, WCW had only been around a few years because, like I said, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling later went part of Jim Crockett Promotions. They were the leading territory for the NWA. Ted Turner gets in, buys out Jim Crockett, and then WCW is formed. So they branch away from the NWA, which is why they changed from having the NWA title to the big gold belt. And when I say big gold belt, this is the belt you'll recognize. So, and this is a hell of a story. I mean, you told me to fill time, so the big gold belt. That's the belt you're recognizing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a beautiful championship.
Yes.
That's a $40,000-$50,000 title. Okay, so there's the big gold belt. So in 1991, Ric Flair was unhappy with what was going on when he was working in WCW. So there was a guy by the name of Jim Herd who was the president of WCW, and
He used to run a fucking Pizza Hut. How he got to manage a multi-million-dollar wrestling promotion when he managed a fucking Pizza Hut franchise. How that came to be, bad decision all around. He was an idiot. He had no business running a wrestling company. And that was part of what WCW's downfall was all the time. They had too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And the problem was all the chiefs weren't wrestling chiefs. Who knows how to run a wrestling company better than somebody that's been affiliated with a You know what?
What's that noise?
I don't know. But it stopped.
That was weird.
We're still recording.
Right on.
Gotta watch my equipment
like a hawk. Like a hawk.
Anyways, that was their problem. They had too many. Who knows how to run a wrestling company better than the wrestler? That's like, not saying our employer, but just using manufacturing positions at all. Who would know how to run it better than people that actually work on the production floor versus people that sit in the freaking office, right?
Right.
So anyways, there's some deal coming up. Back then, when you won the championship belt, a lot of times you put down a deposit of $25,000 to make sure the belt would be in safekeeping, nothing would happen to it. Flair said, screw it, I'm leaving. They said, okay, send us the belt back. Flair said, send me back my $25,000 plus the interest. You're not getting any money. Well, you're not getting the belt back. So he calls Vince McMahon and says, hey, I'm coming. Well, you're the WCW champion. Yeah, I know. The belt's coming with me, too. They said, send me the belt. FedEx us the belt that you have in your possession. Because you got to think this time, there's no honor among thieves in the wrestling business. If you can get a chance to put the other promotion under, you're going to do it. So if you get the world champion of your number one competitor calling you saying, I'm coming, send me the belt, you're going to jump all over them.
Right.
So Rick sends the belt. The very next day, he gets FedEx papers back. He signs. He's up at TV later of the week. He walks out with the WCW championship belt on WWF TV. That happened. That really happened. So this goes on for weeks. And I don't remember, of course I was 4 years old, I don't remember through all my years here of what WCW was doing to counteract the fact that their champion's gone. They have no belt. So they sent a cease and desist letter out suing World Wrestling Federation. So I showed you the big gold belt, right? Okay. So when they got this letter, Vince decided they would start blurring the belt out on TV. But Rick was still calling himself the real world champion because Hulk Hogan was the WWF champion. So they essentially had two champions in the mix. So they sent out, if you look at this belt, it looks similar, but it's different, right? You remember what you looked at a minute ago? Like, here's what you looked at a minute ago.
Right.
Okay. And then this belt. This looks different, right?
Yep.
I'll put some pictures up on our Facebook page. This was called the Crumine belt. It was made by Diamond Maker something Crumine. So this was being commissioned by World Wrestling Federation, now WWE. It looks similar. Well, the problem was the lawsuit also included that they could not have any belt that bared resemblance to the WCW title, which is like this. So then they would blur it out on TV, but for TV shows or non-TV tapings, house shows they call them, that are on televised, Rick had to come out wearing a belt. So what they did was they took an extra tag title belt they had, and down here, their old school tag titles, right here used to say Tag Team Wrestling Champion. Well, as you can see now, it just says Wrestling Champion. Right. So that's the belt he would wear, that the house crowd would see, but the people watching on TV would just see a blurred image. Right. It was all pixelated. So this is a cool little story. More wrestling nerd stuff for you there. But yeah, that belt looks similar to that one, but it's not. That belt never actually made TV. But that's actually in championship belt collecting is pretty impressive. Yeah, right. I've been involved with that. That belt's like one of the holy grails. Like, if you can get a replica of that, you're doing all right. So,
what's that belt worth? I mean,
this belt worth here's you can get
the
couple
real
thousand.
Deal.
The real one?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know to this day where the real cream belt is. I don't know who has it. I know it was probably, last time I looked, ballpark, probably $15,000 or better. Which is not bad considering in the 80s when the real belt was made, that cost $40,000 in the 80s. So that's a $100,000 belt
real
now.
Gold and
diamonds and rubies.
Right.
And
the whole 9 yards. Pretty cool.
so Vince is like, send me the belt. Flair's like, I bet. So Kurt's old school. Bet means, okay, we'll do it. I bet.
I bet.
Yeah. Sure bet.
Sure bet. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
You're having way more fun tonight than you thought you would, aren't you?
I'm having fun, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What else you got for me? Nothing.
Nothing right now. I mean, I wish I knew a little bit more about.
Ask me, I'll tell you. I'm the knowledge guy.
2000, or actually mid-90s probably.
I ask you about baseball all the time. You educate me. What do you want to know about the 90s?
No, I'm saying I don't really know much past the mid-90s to now.
A lot of people wrestled, and a lot of stuff happened. A lot of crazy gimmicks. Some of these gimmicks in wrestling, man. They had a gimmick of the Repo Man go around stealing everybody's shit.
I seen him in the Royal Rumble '92.
You watched the Repo Man?
Yeah, shit, that was the
Repo Man.
Fried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Repo Man. There's something I was going to show you. I have a lot of wrestling stuff on my YouTube. You might get a kick out of this if it works. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this works. Well, that's loud.
There it is. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's it.
USWA Championship Wrestling, Memphis.
That's it, man.
God, I miss that.
Dude, that takes me back.
Jerry Lawler right there. It kind of sounds like Ric Flair's theme song.
Man, that takes me back several years there.
Jerry the King Lawler, Jerry Jarrett. Superstar Bill Dundee right there.
His thing was he's from Australia, right?
Yeah. Sure was. Kurt. Wish I could have been a wrestler.
Well, I wish you could have been a wrestler too. By golly.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Oh, man. I've thought about getting back in it now. Like, I'm fatter and older now. I could take a couple bumps here or there. I wouldn't necessarily be a wrestler, but my favorite thing was I'd be like to be just a little loudmouth manager. Be out there working.
So, your dream was a pro wrestler. Mine was
a pro baseball player. We could have both been rich and just knew each other in roundabout circles.
Right. Yeah,
Would you have tested positive for steroids?
No.
I might have tested positive for being fucking awesome.
That's right. I should have been playing third base for the Reds.
The Reds?
Hometown.
Man, I tell you all the time, I don't know who I hate worse. Cubs fans, Cardinals fans, Yankees fans, or Red fans.
I'm not a Reds fan, but I'm just...
Why didn't you go play in Houston with Jeff Bagwell?
That would have been awesome.
Why are we talking baseball right now?
I don't know.
I'm having way too much fun.
How far are we in?
Right now, 3 hours and 14 minutes. Doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. What are we going to do next?
You mean like as far as this episode, or you want like wrapping this up?
Let's
put a bow on this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we had a lot of fun. We talked wrestling. I mean, is there any other wrestling things you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I can't think of any right now, but
we could always do a part 2 sometime.
Right.
I mean, it's only like 2:00 in the morning, quarter till, but at the rate it's taken us to pick episodes lately.
Right.
So we were supposed to do History next and get the guitar from Glary. The problem was, even though I'm practically stealing this guitar from them, it's still going to cost me more money.
Right.
Money I don't have right now because, life.
Right.
So I'm going to need to get in touch with them and tell them what's going on, and we might have to push that back. So we're going to have to fill with some more episodes that are sports related or steel toes related or whatever. It's just we're not going to be able to do the testing of the guitar they were going to send us, which, by the way, we're saving these guys for last because we had to talk about them. Glary Guitar. Check them out on Facebook or at glarymusic.com. Glary is spelled Glarry. I've said it a million times. I bought a GT501 and a GT502 in January, $80 each. Look and play like a $300 to $500 guitar.
I played one a little bit. It sounded good.
Yeah. I gave one to Zach. Zach gave me money, bought one. It had very little adjustment out of the box, so basically it came ready to go.
Play, yeah.
Very, very reasonable and affordably priced instruments. I will not say cheap because that's not what they are. They're just fantastic for the price.
Yeah, I had a good tone.
It's a campfire guitar, and not a camp wood guitar. You don't throw it in the fire when you're done. You put it back in the car. It's a campfire, not a camp wood. But check them out on Facebook or their website. Give them a call at 606-404-6286. glarymusic.com. I wonder who Jeff Jarrett used to get who made all the guitars. I never did pause the tape. Jeff Jarrett's gimmick in the 90s and the 2000s was headshot guitar. He was busting guitars over people's heads. 1987, Honky Tonk Man hit Jake Roberts with a guitar and it didn't bust. The only thing that broke was Jake's fucking spine because he hit him with the best guitar money could buy. Jeff Jarrett was hitting guys with like $20 guitars, or I shouldn't say 20, cheap guitars that would explode and
Right.
Yeah, look at this, dude.
You got the list.
Well, yeah, this got wrapped up. Here's some of the wrestling topics for the wrestling podcast. So, before we pick our topic, what I was talking about. So, I'm going to be running a second podcast. I've got the equipment. I'm going to be doing most of the recording. I'm going to have to remote these guys in through phone interviews, and it's called Wrestling Through the Eras, which is kind of like,
All right.
So, and we're going to talk about the current state of wrestling and indie wrestling and cover past events and maybe biographies of guys and rebooking angles. Independent wrestler, guy well known named Brian the Butcher Joseph, good friend of mine, was a Facebook friend for years on both of my Facebook accounts. And then the guy that lives in Chicago is a great little heel manager, Chaz Moretti. Chaz is a super cool guy. I love his thick Chicago accent. Almost sounds Jersey-ish. I need to ask him if he's from Jersey, because for Chicago, it's a hell of a Jersey.
The Bears.
Yeah. Chaz is a great guy. Chaz has been in the ring with a lot of great names. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to remote in a lot of guests. I can't wait. I don't know when we're going to start recording. I need to get us some hosting. Me and you use Podbean. I think Podbean might run a discount if I sign up another show with them. I don't know. I've got to do some stuff, and I'm missing the equipment to remote interview in. I need to buy a cable or buy the Bluetooth option, which he'll be coming in a few weeks. So it's going to be a few weeks yet before we do our first episode. But like I expressed to them, this was been my idea. Wrestling was what got me into podcasting. Right. Unfortunately, I had more fun doing this with you, so it got put on the back burner. So now it's finally coming to fruition. And like I've said, my I told them my focus will always be the Steel Toes and Scoreboards podcast because of the time we put in, and I couldn't have done this without you, and let alone the money. We halved everything. Half of this shit is because of you. So I know you always tell me that I give you too much credit, but
I mean, I don't.
This show wouldn't be a show without you.
Well, thanks, buddy. I mean,
thanks, buddy.
I mean, I had a lot of fun. I didn't know at first if I'd be cut out for it or not, but
tell everybody what really happened, because I just cleaned it up that week by saying you were unavailable. So
well, I wasn't sure I was cut out for it. You know, to be honest with you, and I made
the decision that you were going to be done.
Yeah, and Doyle over here said, well, "What are you going to do that for?" I said, "Don't quit now." So there we go.
I know I owe everything to Doyle. He's already sleeping. Are you sleeping?
No.
No. Usually you're still playing 2K. It's early, and yet you look like.
Pissed off at 2K.
Why'd you get pissed off at 2K? Are they being butthole-ish?
Butthole-ish.
Computer and I'm stuck pretty much. I don't know what to do.
We have a new phrase tonight, Kurt. What is it?
Butthole-ish.
Butthole-ish.
Brand new. It's ever since we were conceived.
When we're conceived, what's the first part of us that's born or developed?
Well, it'd be the
major anal seat opening.
And the anal opening. Wow.
The butthole, folks.
So I guess I could cross this off because it's not really pro wrestling. It was supposed to be the rise of pro wrestling. That was episode number 54.
I mean, we still do that. I mean,
just what made it more dominant.
I mean, we can
do a whole episode on Ric Flair yet.
Yeah, for sure.
This was the easiest episode I ever had to prepare for. I literally had to do no fucking work.
Well, I mean, he deserved one of them. For sure. I thought,
Did you have fun?
I thought we had good content.
Well, hell yeah, we did. I had a lot of fun.
Well, I'm sure if I just sit here a little bit longer, I'd probably think of other things.
You might think of more questions.
But
hey, the list is up to 65 episodes now. I put some more work in.
Oh, yeah? Well, what do you got? Maybe I'll have to do one.
I don't know. Definitely probably not going to do a baseball episode. We just did that one. I don't know. Eventually, we got to do the steroids. Any podcast that does sports, especially if they cover baseball, always does a steroids episode. Right. So, I'm guessing we need to stick with the NFL, the NBA, or other.
Well, I mean, the NFL season is coming upon us.
It is coming upon us, yeah. We did your Steelers, didn't we?
Right. Yeah.
You guys want to play fantasy league or what?
Man, I got a fantasy draft starting soon. What, do you want to play fantasy league? Kurt don't know how to play fantasy football.
I basically was supposed to be making this league up. You got a couple people want to play, but we have a couple openings.
What's it? I mean, I don't know what.
Fantasy football? Oh, man, fantasy football is my shit. I get cocky about two things, pro wrestling and fantasy football. So.
Well, I haven't lost in 3 straight seasons, though.
But what's...
I won a 3-peat in my league one year.
I mean...
Yeah, go ahead, ask it.
I don't know what the basic structure or what the rules and what...
Basically, yeah, I mean, you just go through and say there'd be 8 people in the league, there'd be a draft, and there'd be somebody who get the first pick, and then they'd go through, and then obviously all the way down to the 8th pick, and then if you're the 8th pick, then you get the first pick in the next round. Pretty much, you can also customize how the draft would go.
Well, I mean...
Are you lost already?
Yeah, but I'm...
It definitely makes the game a lot more...
I'm in. Count me in.
Fuck.
What's it cost?
I don't know. We got to determine that yet.
All right.
You're still recording. I just muted my mic. Keep talking.
I mean, I'll be down to get into some fantasy football.
I gotta get a fucking drink.
I'm probably going to be biased a little bit.
Yeah.
Steeler Nation.
Get a drink. Oh.
Just, keep me in mind. Yeah, I'll be in on it. Just let me know when.
There'll be a couple of openings, I'd say.
All right.
What would we name Kurt Kelly's fantasy football team, Dole?
I'm not sure.
I got too much shit scattered out on your table, huh?
We want to do an NFL. Something with it.
Oh, let's see what we got. We should do Brady versus Manning. Oh, wait.
It's already been done.
It's already been done. I can't. We're gonna do Pete Rose for the Hall of Fame one day.
Yeah, that's gonna be. That'll be a good episode. I'm sure.
It will be one.
Great 2-strike hitter.
He was a great 2-strike hitter. And then the very next line was something about Shaq. I'm like, what the fuck? I listened back to that. The very first opening we did. God, that sucked. It was all over the place. Yeah. That was my way of being lazy and trying to encapsulate quotes from the other and fuck it.
I like the take we got on it now.
I like when I love deep sluts.
I mean stats.
Yeah. It looks. I still have the sheet of paper with the script wrote on it. It looks like deep sluts.
I mean,
sorry, folks, not sorry. My penmanship's atrocious, and that shit's funny as fuck. Deep slut. Here's another good episode for when we do another baseball one sometime, though. I don't know how long it would be, but it's talking about the MLB adopts interleague play, which used to not be a thing.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna do football or basketball.
I mean, you got
football or basketball.
You got
Which one do you want to do? Football or basketball?
I say we do the NFL.
Wait, football, basketball, or other?
I say we do a football.
Okay,
I mean, the football season's coming upon us.
Okay, so football. The knee that changed the world, the Kaepernick episode. That's not really an episode. I just put that on there to be funny. That might piss some people off, but
oh well. I mean,
Okay.
The 1985 Bears.
Boo!
Damn it. They were a force, dude.
Talk about the 85 Bears. I'm just going to let this play.
They were a force. That Buddy Ryan defense was something else.
What about the Steelers' dominance of the 70s? Nope, fuck you. We already did a Steelers episode. Huh. Pacers can't get no free agents. Wrong sport. Well, I look what I have on this episode or for NFL episodes.
I mean, there's all kinds of different things.
Oh, there's all kinds of things. I mean, we could do a recap.
The 49ers, John Elway's
49ers dominance of the 80s. Elway's big retirement. The title returns home to Titletown. Favre and the Packers win
the greatest show. The greatest show on turf.
I feel like we need to do something for my Colts.
Mike Vanderjagt's botched field goal.
That's not what I want to do for my Colts. When I just said we should do something for my Colts.
I'll be down to do a Colts episode. The baby horses.
The baby horses. I don't know. Let me think for a minute.
You think it was a good move, Carson Wentz coming down?
Wow, what the fuck, man? It's Carson Wentz.
Him and Frank Reich won a Super Bowl in Philly.
Carson didn't even fucking play. He said it was
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles that brought it home.
I think the Colts would be better off to pick up Nick Foles.
I'm going to hit you with a steel chair in a minute.
I think they would.
You're stressing me out, bud. You're stressed. All right, god damn it. Let's pick a football episode. Look.
He's got to go potty, probably. And the old hip's hurting him.
Damn, he's lapping that water hard.
He's made him freaking thirsty, didn't it? He probably got to go out.
Think so?
Probably. You gotta go potties. I don't know if you go potties. Maybe not. Old hip boy, baby.
You a good boy.
Old hip boy.
Look, he wants his butt rubbed.
Old hip boy.
He's just gonna sit right here and I'm rubbing his head and you're rubbing his butt. Look at him.
He's terrible.
You spoiled rotten baby.
my mic. I'm gonna let him out.
Yeah, me too. Starting to get a little tired. Okay, so I've narrowed it down to 3 football options, and I guess I'll let you pick. So we can do another top 10, which will be, or we pick the top 10 running backs of all time.
Okay.
We can recap the 2006 Colts season, which is where they beat the Bears for the Super Bowl.
Right.
Or we can cover the 1996 Super Bowl, which is where Favre, I think the Packers, who'd they play? The Patriots? So.
I'd say we do a Colts for the Indiana people.
So we did your top 10 Steelers. Right. This won't be a top 10 Colts. This will just be a 2006 Colts recap.
What a
culminating
year.
With them winning the Super Bowl in February of 2007.
Great year. Good team.
They had the 32nd ranked run defense in the regular season. First play of the game in the postseason, they draw Kansas City in the wild card round. Larry Johnson was one of the top 5 backs for the last handful of years. First play from scrimmage. Larry comes out running, and they just bust him behind the line for a 5-yard loss. And it's like, holy fuck, where was that run defense at all year?
And it's stuck through all the playoffs here to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, who was their defensive coordinator that year?
For the Colts?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Offensive coordinator was...
defensive coordinator.
Howard Mudd would have been offensive.
Howard Mudd would have been... Wasn't he the offensive line coach? Wasn't Tom...
Barchett Broda.
No. God damn it. Dole, come on. He was the older, white-haired guy, big fat guy. Google it.
I thought that was Howard Mudd.
No, Howard Mudd was shorter, gray hair, goatee.
He was offensive line.
He was offensive line coach. Who was Tom
Moore.
Tom Moore.
There you go.
Tom Moore. Yep. Who was the defensive coordinator that season? 06.
Probably Caldwell.
No, Caldwell would have been.
Dungy.
Who?
No, I'm joking.
Not Dungy.
I was joking when I said that.
He's the next Steeler.
He's got it pulled up, looking up. Who is it?
I don't actually.
Caldwell would have been an assistant head coach.
It says,
I can't believe I can't remember this.
Well, wait, the team that it was been 2006 or 2007?
Yeah.
It was 2006 season because they played the Super Bowl the following year, February of 07. So 2006 defensive coordinator. I'm drawing a fucking blank, boys.
Of course, this website which you had all kinds of shit down.
Fuck it. Let me pull it off Wikipedia. We're all good on Google now. I wish everybody could see this. 2006 Colts coaching staff. Head coach Tony Dungy. We knew that. Roster. Of course, that's giving me everything but what I need.
Me too.
Well, this is...
It says Jim Caldwell was the assistant head coach, quarterbacks coach. Clyde Christensen was wide receiver coach. Leslie Frazier was the defensive backs coach. Frank Reich was an intern. Alan Williams was secondary coach. And it don't say anything about... What the fuck?
2006 Indianapolis Colts.
Okay, offensive coordinator was Tom Moore. Defensive coordinator was Ron Meeks.
Okay.
Yep, I just found it. Yep. Yep, it sure was.
Yeah, look, that team there, if this is, I mean, that was a team that would have won the Super Bowl.
Right.
That is the team that won the Super Bowl.
Booger McFarland was on the team, huh?
Yep, Anthony McFarland. He was defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Raheem Brock was a defensive tackle. You had Freeney and Mathis on the ends.
Gary Brackett was the middle linebacker.
Gary Brackett was the middle linebacker.
He don't show any stats of Freeney.
You had Bob Sanders was safety. Antoine Bethea was a safety. You had Cato June and Rob Morris as linebackers. Cornerbacks would have been
Nick Harper and Jason David. But I don't see
Jason David was one. Marlon Jackson, because Marlon made the infamous interception. God,
they beat a good Bears team that year.
Marlon's got it. We're going to the Super Bowl.
They beat a good Bears team in the Super Bowl. The Bears were pretty.
They didn't play good in the Super Bowl.
No.
That was a Bears team that was led by Gary Brackett, or not Gary
Brian Urlacher.
Brian Urlacher. And who was the other one? Who was the other linebacker Chicago had? Shit.
Refrigerator Perry.
You suck. Anyways, we'll find it in the notes. I can't think of the guy's name now.
Yeah, that'd be a good episode.
Signed a big free agent deal. So we'll do okay. So I guess to wrap this up real quick, you said you had some word association, so
I did, but then
then you forgot?
Then I forgot.
Okay.
My bad. He's wanting the word association.
Well, I never do them. Usually I do them to you. That's why it was funny.
I mean, I couldn't think. The only thing I come up with was his name.
I got a handful for you if you're a game.
Yeah.
Okay. Pro wrestling.
Entertaining.
Okay. Randy Savage.
I said, watch your wet.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh.
I fucking can't with you. I can't. Paul Bear and the Undertaker.
Creepy.
Cool. Andre the Giant.
What a mountain of a man. Holy crap.
Super fly Jimmy Snuka, brother.
I like it.
He beat his wife to death.
Didn't know that.
And it's rumored Vince McMahon covered it up because Snuka was his top prize at the time.
Huh.
Nancy Argentino. She died.
Well, that kind of makes me a little bit different.
I mean, they never proved it, I don't think, and then the case got reopened, and then he died. So, okay. Ric Flair.
Flamboyant.
Yeah.
Opinionated.
That's a good one. This has been our longest episode to date. Almost 4 hours. 3 hours and 37 minutes.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Dude, and you know what's sad? I could talk another 3 hours and 37 minutes.
We didn't cover hardly anything.
Yeah. I'm getting tired.
Yeah, me too, bro.
What time is it?
2:04.
Oh, fuck, it's early. That one night, we just turned the recorders back on at this time. I got to do laundry today.
I gotta do some stuff too.
Yeah. Yard work? Gonna go outside and sweat?
Yeah, I gotta go outside and sweat. Probably gotta pick
I'm fat when it's hot. I like to stay inside and do nothing.
Me too. I got some green beans I gotta pick.
Okay, so I guess next time we record, which I don't know, depending on my mood, we might be able to swing it Friday maybe.
Yeah.
Because we got a holiday weekend coming. I'll have the kids, but I won't pick them up till Friday night.
We can do it Friday.
So it's been a while since we did one.
We'll have to cram it.
Fuck, I can cram this. This is the Colts, baby.
All right.
I can cram this. But if something changes, I'll let you know. But let's shoot for Friday.
Okay.
I'll come to your crib again. So that's it. You notice a lot of episodes I go, because I'm always thinking, tonight I didn't do a lot of,
No.
Because I just fired it off. It was like word vomit. I couldn't stop. Pro wrestling is a sport.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it. I had fun.
Yes.
So, I need to put us an outro. You know, we plugged all these sponsors tonight, and not one time did I hit the sponsors music. But
it's a work in progress. Shit.
I think to close out the show, we should play a wrestling theme song. So, the problem is, I don't know what to play. Let's see what I got here. I'll pick something that'll make you happy. Oh man, I got all kind of stuff in here, man. Here we go. I just had it. Hold on. Okay. Well, guys, next week. Now I'm doing the ums. Next week we'll talk a little Indianapolis Colts, the 2006 season recap, culminating in the Super Bowl 41 victory. Peyton gets his first ring. So for Ethan Doyle, our nice anchor who doesn't have a mic, for Kirk Kelly, I'm Jared Atkins. We hope you enjoyed 3 hours and 40 minutes of wrestling talk.
I had fun.
You had fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Kurt, let's end with this. We will see you guys next week.
God bless.
God bless. Little alternate warrior.
There you go.
You like warrior, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
This would get you amped up, you know?
Oh, yeah.
All rights go to World Wrestling Entertainment. We don't own this.
I can see him coming out and shaking the ropes right now.
Wait. We should end with this. The Legion of Doom.
Okay.
Road Warriors. Adam would be happy if we put Going to Clown on. You like Going to Clown?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Road Warriors, man. That's a good thing to go out on.
There you go.
All right, guys. We hope you had fun. We did. I got Kirk to do a wrestling episode, and he actually had fun. So
Oh, yeah.
we will see you guys next week.
Peace out.